Good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome in. We're back at Octane Online Racing for round 5 at Ricard. Yeah, it's an interesting track. We're going to have some fun tonight. 2 splits for you, of course, tonight. Split blue and split red later on. Split blue with you right now. 2 races for the format tonight. Got a 12-minute qualifying to start us off. Then race 1, which is 20 minutes long. Then we jump into qualifying 2 for 10 minutes, followed by a second race, 40 minutes on the clock for that one. And of course it is the home of Bender's Apex, the home of the worst rejoin of all time. We're looking forward to not seeing anything like that happen tonight, and the cars are out on track beginning their first qualifying session. So welcome. My name is George Cook. I'm joined in the commentary box tonight by Breno Ellis and Austin McNeil. Chaps, lovely to have you in here. How are you doing tonight?
It is good to be here. I am excited for this racing. Paul Ricard always delivers good racing, despite what some people may say, and the Super Sprint just makes it all the more spicier.
Yep, 100%. Doing well. Yourself, George?
Not too bad. Yeah, not too bad at all, thank you. Definitely looking forward to some racing tonight. It's going to be, I don't know, that's always about Paul Ricard. I like to watch the racing here. I don't like to race here personally, but there is a lot of good racing to be had at a circuit like this. It's nice and wide, a big slipstream down the Mistral straight as well, which provides all sorts of action on the track and lots of opportunities for everyone there as well. Now, Mia Rose leading the pro category at the moment. She is on 450 points, and then Joshua Vediger on 350. So the pro category looking pretty wide at the moment, but Joshua Holmes leading the silver category on 320 points. Then Steve Lewis Pro-Am, and we do have the leader in Tom Frustuck with 92 points at the bottom. So that's where your standings are for AP Blue. We did have Monza a couple of weeks ago, with some technical glitches, didn't we, lads?
Yeah, you hate to see those kind of glitches. Obviously, I think just clashing with a couple of updates and a bunch of those problems and a bunch of server issues. Good to be on top of it for tonight, so everything should be some smooth running. But yeah, it always sucks to see.
It's funny you should say that you prefer spectating more than racing, because we always talk about spectator sports and how they're very boring to watch, whereas Paul Ricard's quite the opposite.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it is just the nature of the track. It's wide, it's open. You can send it down the inside of a lot of corners. Sector 3, especially if you get a good run out of the slipstream that you're going to get on the Mistral straight. I think it's just full of opportunities, right?
Yep. There's also a fair few different lines you can take, especially for those long, sweeping, closing radius corners in Sector 3. And obviously the last corner there, very easy to go for an overtake there. Sometimes not difficult to defend, but sometimes you can catch your opponents off guard. So watch out for the last corner tonight.
Yeah, so in terms of setup here, I mean, it's a hot track out there, 34 degrees track temperature, 27 in the atmosphere. Fast track, so not optimum conditions. Fast track at Paul Ricard just sort of makes me chuckle a little bit, because really you're looking for maximum grip out there. There'll be a lot running really low wing setups to take advantage of the speed of the straights. Probably going to see people hit, what, 280 plus here, I think, easily, right?
Yeah, in the slipstream you'd be hitting, I'd say, low 290s almost. As we see Bakita here in the GTR, I'd expect that to be, even without the slipstream, touching 290. But yeah, even the slower cars like the Porsche, I think I was getting up to about 283 last time I came here. Obviously there's been a couple BOP changes since then. But yeah, definitely get up to some crazy speeds down that back straight. Be scary in real life, I tell you.
Yeah, coming up to that fast right-hander at the end of Mistral Straight, I would not want to go anywhere near that. So I'm glad I'm sitting safely here in my office and not having to put my life in line to go through that.
Yeah, quite glad I'm not a Formula 1 driver, having to do testing potentially around this circuit. Just throw some rain on the track, as old Bernie likes, and throw it through that corner at 300. Why not? Big no thanks for me there. But Philippa Bakita has gone to the top of the tables of 53.250, nearly 8/10 clear of the field. That is an impressive time to be setting. I don't think she actually set that time in practice, so obviously doing a little bit of sandbagging in practice, not to scare the competition too much. Reynolds in P2 and the GTRs, those Nissans are strong. They are strong here, aren't they?
Yeah, they've got a bit of another lease on life as well in the recent update. I'm not 100% sure if we're running LFM BOP tonight or something along those lines, but yeah, Kunos definitely mucking around a little bit with the BOP behind the scenes. It's definitely brought some life back to the GTR, the Bentley, and the... No, just the GTR and the Bentley. I thought the Aston was there, but I think it's still a little bit off the pace, but yeah. GTR definitely going to be one to look out for tonight, and obviously the driver Emirates, one of the quickest people. Yeah, probably in the game, if I'm being perfectly honest. I was going to say Oceana, but in the game, she can compete with just about the best.
Yeah, truly is a world-class driver, Pip. So whatever time we see her putting in, it's probably one of the better times you're going to see all day. And also, here we have the wonderful MRT Skyline. I'm definitely not biased towards this vehicle. Also, just pointing out, it has gone optimum. It went optimum very quickly today, so kind of out of nowhere. So now we should be seeing some of the best times we can possibly get out of these drivers.
Yeah, the drivers will be happy with that. Optimum conditions here, much more fun than fast track conditions. GTR getting a little bit squiggly through Hotel. One of the trickier sections, of course. A lot of curb to ride through there, so the car does get a bit of a tendency to, get a little bit loose on the rear end. But as long as you keep it nice and in line, you should be reasonably quick running over those curbs. Qualifying 5 minutes 30 to go. Welcome into everyone in chat and YouTube and Twitch. Lovely to have you on here. A couple of housekeeping items. Why not? Give us a follow and a subscribe. Go on. You know you want to do it. Hit that like button. You absolutely love to do it. Give us a little dopamine hit from clicking the button. Go on, do it. Nonetheless, for the other little housekeeping item, it is in Patreons do get Simrigs.com little discount, 5%. And of course, this is the Simrigs Sprint Series here tonight for Octane Online Racing, if you didn't know. So if you are an OOR Patreon, you do get that 5% discount at the store. So give us a Patreon. Why not? Gives yourself a discount on the store. Who doesn't want that?
And I've heard nothing but positive things about Simrigs, so they are very, very worthy business to support. So we greatly appreciate their sponsorship.
Right, we are on board now with Mia Rose, the 909 Porsche, not able to put a lap in the first 7.5 minutes of this qualifying. Is that a Porsche thing, doing Porsche things? Porsche doing Porsche things, or has she just had a bad run?
Or potentially the Porsche coming out, the second right-hander after the Mistral strays where I struggle the most, especially with wearing tyres. Granted that's not an issue here in qualifying, but as we see there, a big oversteer moment. There's definitely some tricky corners for the Porsche here at Paul Ricard, but Mia Rose, great driver. No doubt that she'll put in a stellar lap. I reckon top 3 is on the cards here, but yeah, obviously struggling a little bit for the first part of this qualifying, but obviously I reckon she got the time there, just has to put in the lap, and obviously the track limits here as well are fairly strict. Especially in a qualifying lap, obviously you're pushing as hard as you want. This corner coming up here, right-hander at the end of the Mistral straight, as we see another little oversteer moment there. That's going to lose a touch of time. But those track limits there, when you're pushing the absolute limit of the car, very easy to go wide of those little markers on the left-hand side there.
Indeed it is. And a quick mention to our broadcaster in the background. Some volume needs to be turned up, please, and can't hear car sounds, apparently. So just a little FYI for our broadcast in the background to maybe do a couple of checks on that. Couldn't agree more, though. 3 minutes on the clock. We do expect Mia, obviously, to be right up the pointy end. And I did forget to mention that for race 2, it is going to be a reverse grid. Say, car sounds fixed. Commentators need to go up. Okay, thank you, chat. We do appreciate the feedback. For helping us to get the right audio levels all the way through. Piper, that's a good lap in a Bentley as well. You did mention, of course, before that the Bentleys do have some sort of advantage here, whether it be top speed or just maneuverability. I know that the front end does like to move in fairly nicely. And actually, in terms of the bop, it is the default game bop now for Sprint Series.
Well, there you go. That's awesome to see that. Obviously, we've got a Bentley in P4 and two Nissan GTRs up the top. So, as we said, that it looks like Mia Rose has put in a decent lap there. Good enough for P3 overall. About a 10th off of Reynolds ahead. So, I reckon she'll be pushing just for that little bit extra to take P2 away from Reynolds there in the 28 GTR.
Yeah, it's always a tricky one on this track though, because I think we've noticed how long it took for Mia to put a lap on the board, and honestly quite a few drivers to be honest. And you just push that little bit extra, you run a little bit wide, and the track limits are so harsh here, you lose your lap straight away. So it's a real fine balance to sort of get this speed, but keep it within the limits.
So we go back on board here with Mia Rose. Coming through, just approaching, no, we're into sector 3 here. A little bit of a twitch there coming into the second right-hander. Really tricky corner this one here because the closing radius, very easy to push wide. And as we're saying, yeah, the track limit's there, but she does it very cleanly. Coming into the next right-hander, another tight corner, well, closing radius corner here. Very interesting sector. You don't see this kind of corner layout anywhere else in the world. It's really a Paul Ricard specialty. She rounds, come up to the final corner here. Gonna see if this is an improvement. It looks like it's an invalid lap from my timing table here. So maybe just cooling down the tyres a touch and going for a push lap now.
Yeah, I get the feeling that invalidation was at 10, the fast right-hander after the straight. Did look just a little bit wide. And, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but doesn't look particularly comfortable under acceleration, that Porsche right now. I do wonder if it's the old run low wing to maximize the straight, therefore have zero grip in the corners kind of situation.
Yep, it is a balancing act. Obviously, the better drivers can handle the Porsche with low wing, but it's its biggest weakness here. Ironically, the Porsche is actually known for its top speed in real life, which I find funny that it's not too good in ACC. Whereas it's maneuverability. But I mean, as a Porsche driver, like I knew no difference until I tried something else. So I drove the new Lambo for the 24-hour a couple months ago now, actually. Yeah, we've been last half of last year, and I didn't realize how well the Porsche turns in the corners until I drove something else. So it definitely it turns like nothing else. So if you guys have never tried the Porsche before, I'd say give it a go. Definitely a labor of love, and it's not for everybody, but just give it a go. It sounds incredible. It handles like nothing else. We see another little wiggle there from Mia Rose. Pointing to and unfortunately she's just invalidated there, just pushed a touch too wide and not too happy about it either. Reckon she definitely had some time on the table there, so just over 7/10 off pole with Philippa Ricard doing a 53 dead, which is a stellar lap for these temperatures. Ashley Reynolds in the other GTR, 4 and a bit tenths behind with a 53.5.
Yep, that is a good lap from Holmes. He's taken away the position from Piper, who put himself up in the P4 for a little bit. Joshua Vediga now moved up into P5 in this race. So that's going to be maybe a little disappointing for him, but we know that he can do better than that, so we'll see what happens in the race. Leela Bell also invalidating, and also another unhappy Porsche driver right there. So the Porsche's not particularly happy out there on circuit, just not finding those valid laps out there. We saw that with Mia not really getting a lap on the board till 3 minutes through. Here's Wilson coming across the line in his OES Mercedes AMG. How is this going to improve his lap? P25 at the moment goes to P22, so actually does pretty well there for the most part. But it is Pip leading us away. She's pipped the rest of the field with this qualifying, puts herself in the P1 position, front row of the grid, with Ashlyn Reynolds in P2, Mia Rose P3. That's the top 3 for pro category. Then Joshua Holmes with what a lap that was. Joshua, got to give him props for that for the silver category. Leads the silver category. Joshua Vediga P5. Pro driver, of course, Benjamin Piper, P2 in the silver class, Scott Blair, as we go through the grid and do this track walk. Nice to see the Bentleys up there towards the pointy end of the grid. Lots of comments in the chat saying Porsche equals sadness. I'm not sure if I 100% agree with that. I don't think the commentary box would be on board with that opinion, but the liveries in AP Blue is always looking incredibly good.
I am seeing some comments about rain. Can we get any confirmation on this? The cloud is looking very dark.
We are checking. Oh, yes. So 10 minutes out, we have rain, and 30 minutes out, rain plus. So there is going to be rain halfway through this race, potentially.
Yeah, look out. That's it's not even light rain. It's not even going to ease them into it. It's coming straight down. It's going to be interesting what the strategy here is, because 10 minutes in the rain, you probably could push it, but I don't know about heavy rain. How
Well,
like
you've
we're
got
seeing
one.
on the radar here.
Yeah, you've got one mandatory pit stop anyway, so you might as well. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? You save 30 seconds by not changing your tires. So if you think you've got 30 seconds that you can hold someone off for, then you might be okay. Probably going to favor the cars that have the higher speeds on the straights, because then you don't have to really worry too much, or as much, I should say, about what tire you're on. You just, get on the accelerator as much as you can, crank the TC up a bit and go for it. But yeah, you're right. 10 minutes might not be worth taking that 30-second penalties. How many laps is that going to be? It's going to be, what, 7 laps in the last 10 minutes? So 7 laps, 30 seconds? Oof, that's a difficult decision for the drivers.
Yeah, it is. Dink Donk in the chat, who I believe is Chris Cooley, one of the incredibly quick drivers in OR, has said he would start on the wets, and he does make a very good point that this timer, the sessions, as we actually
It's
see,
raining.
the rain
It's
starts
raining.
already.
With 5 seconds
see-
to go, boys.
Yeah, we see every single car get back up on its stilts and come down again.
Yep. Well, that takes the guesswork out of it, I guess. So
Yeah,
there you
it
go.
certainly does. Yeah, that's so that is rain. That is rain you're seeing on your screens there, folks, in Twitch and YouTube. Every single car is going to be jumping up and down for the next 13 seconds before we start this out lap. This is now a wet race. That means wet tires. You don't change your tires in the mandatory pit stop. You just go for broke, get that one pit stop done. Don't throw any fuel on it. Just stop and start again, really, isn't it?
Yeah. It'd be interesting to find out how many drivers have done any wet practice, because the pit lane entry here is, it catches you off guard, especially in the wet. I have a feeling we might see a couple. Don't want to jinx it, and I hope I hope everything goes smoothly for the drivers, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see a couple drive-throughs just for speeding in the pits today.
I've seen some horror show things at this pit entry. It's one of those ones that, especially if you run wide on the exit of the last corner pond, you suddenly find yourself in a really bad position, and you're really hoping that someone is not trying to overtake on the inside. Otherwise, you are going to be forced into a bender's apex situation, aren't you?
Yep.
I'm just going to point out the amount of grey dots that are sitting in the pit lane. It's been pointed out that I think a lot of people were not able to make their choices and changes in time. So sadly, we've got a lot of people starting from the pit lane.
Yeah, I was going to mention that as well. I'm glad that you pointed it out, because I was going to say, like, with the rain coming so soon, so late into that countdown, it's tough, especially with those with sometimes ACC just takes forever to load anyway. It doesn't matter how good your computer is, but yeah, it looks like it's caught some people out there, unfortunately.
That's the worst case scenario. You're watching those little dots go round and round and round with the timer ticking down, and it goes to 0, and your car is not back on the road and not enough time to click drive. That's a horror scenario. So it is Jake McKellar, Simon Scanlon, Steve Lewis, Nathan Wilson, Neil Wood, and Michael Babb who got caught out there. 3 Pro-Am drivers and 3 silver drivers starting this race from the pit lane. That is a disaster scenario. I wouldn't agree that it's chaotic, but it's certainly going to make their race interesting. They'll have a 6-way battle towards to the end of the grid. So I guess we wish them best of luck, and hopefully they can have a clean race out there today. So I guess we'll see what happens, won't we?
We're going to have a little bit of a fight, I reckon, just behind the actual grid. So I think we're going to be jumping between both grids here. But yeah, that is unfortunate for those drivers. Hopefully they can still make something of it. Obviously, we've got that second race later on in the night, so even if it isn't, they've still got time to recover and get a decent result in that second race.
So of the top, as we go side by side now, getting ready for the start of this, of the top sort of 4 or 5 cars, we've got Nissans, Ferraris, we've got Porsches, we've got a Bentley in there. Which one of them is going to be the best in the rain here today?
Oh,
I mean,
that is interesting. I'd say the drivers in the GTRs, I think, will offset that, but the GTRs aren't awfully good in the wet, from what I've heard. The Porsche is fairly good in the wet, but with a low wing setup, which I assume they might have kept. To be honest, they might have bumped the wing up a touch, because everybody knows that in the wet, low wing is not the play.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
enough slip and sliding action, let alone low wing as well. So be interesting to see how this one goes.
Cool, a race start initiated. Here we are, split blue. It's race 1, 20 minutes on the clock now has begun. Green flag racing, we are go. Porsche of Mia Rose trying to look up the inside maybe of Philippa's GTR. GTRs are side by side as we come into turn 1. Ferrari for the first time. Everyone looking a little bit slippy, a little bit slidey, but clean so far. It's not actually what you expect. Well done, Split Blue, handling the rain like absolute champions out there right now. Top stuff. Philippa Bakita does lead us from Ashton Reynolds, from Mia Rose, from Joshua Holmes, so it's all even Stevens at the top of the grid right now. And there's an accident. Oh, it's a big one. That's going to be a safety car, chaps.
Yeah, hate to see that. We'll love to see a replay. It looked like there's just a bit of rubbing and maybe a little bit of Kuno's features just drag the nose across somebody else. But we'll get a safety car, get everyone bunched back up. Hopefully it's not too much damage. Luckily it's only a 20-minute race, so tough it out, and we've got a second to go.
Yeah. With the safety car, it's going to bring those guys that did start from pit lane back in the race, so don't think it's going to be over for them as much as we might have thought initially. But yeah, a bit unfortunate there. I saw the Bentley just get cleaned up as well. He was doing awesome. He was sitting P6, I believe, at least off the start. I'm not sure if he lost or gained any positions in the first sector, but yeah. So we see the replay here. Bit of a nudge. And the poor Ferrari there has just been knocked into the GTR, and that's spun everybody around. And yeah, once you're backwards in the wet, you're a passenger at that point.
Yes, and I do have to address some comments in the chat. Commentator's curse. Well, I do unfortunately have a long history of wet races, AP Blue, and myself in a commentary box throwing out curses left and right. So sad to say, but that curse has solidly returned. Drivers be warned, of course, as always. Beware of this name in the commentary box, so I do have him out willy-nilly. Here's another replay, another little look from the top. Yeah, it looks like, because that's Joshua Vediger in the Porsche, the Coke Zero red Porsche there. Looks like he just, maybe got a little bit, and we had the blue Ferrari in the middle getting a bit squeezed, and yeah, it was really nothing they could do. They were all passengers moments later.
Yeah, bit of unfortunate, like wrong place, wrong time sort of incident there, but definitely one for the stewards box, and we'll see what they decide of that one. Also looks like Scanlon in the 115 Ferrari has got a stop and go 30. I believe you mentioned he was one that started from the pit, so I have a feeling he's forgot to put in his pit limiter there, or he's accidentally bumped it on the run out to rejoin the circuit.
Well, that's a bit unlucky. So you could catch back up to the pack, and now you have to come to the pits within 3 laps. So that's gone from not ideal to not great, I think. We've got Graham Hill asking if they can pit under safety car. I'm not 100% sure. It's usually at the race director's discretion. They are coming around turn 15 now. There might be some trying to split off and jump into that pit lane. There is no pit window here today, and there we go. Just as the green flags go again, we get racing again. A number of cars do come in immediately.
It's going to be interesting to see here, because I don't think they really gain anything here by pitting, just because the safety car did end that soon. But yeah,
the only thing I can imagine,
those guys.
Yeah, the only thing I can imagine they would gain is maybe some clean air. I mean, we saw Ashton Reynolds; he's come into the pits. He was P2, so maybe thinking, "Hey, let's go. Let's get some clean air. I'm not running behind Philippa anymore." That might be it, but then you lose slipstream as well, so how much does it really help you?
Yeah, in fact, especially in the wet, I would imagine. Well, obviously, like, clean air is a very good point, because you don't have the spray of the car ahead, and trying to drive in the spray is not fun. But you'd also, yeah, it's tough, because especially in the wet, I would imagine the slipstream might actually be less beneficial. In fact, almost detrimental, because you're going to be going quicker than you imagine coming into that right-hander, and the track's already slippery as it is. So to that extra 4 or 5 k's an hour can really catch you off guard as well. So maybe the lack of slipstream and just being able to see your turning marker, a little dab of the brakes and a turn, well, actually a big dab of the brakes now that we're in the wet, into that right-hander, just being able to visually see your brake marker. So we see, I think it's a McLaren that's gone off there, no, a Ferrari.
Ferrari and a Porsche.
Yep.
Yeah.
Another Ferrari going off, so you could definitely tell who hasn't practiced in the wet here.
I get the feeling it's most of them out on grid. That rain certainly came as a shock to us. It might well have come to a shock to everyone on the grid, certainly 6 people were incredibly shocked today with that. We were just on board with Aston Johnson there, and that was McDonald going a little bit wide at the background. There's a P8 Preciado here, another Ferrari, so got Horsberg in behind, another McLaren. I'm actually a little bit surprised to see the McLarens and the Ferraris up on the grid. I suppose we do have a number of them, so it kind of makes sense in a way. McLaren's in the wet with a low wing setup, which is what they tend to favour here. I've driven it, it's not fun.
I mean, is any car truly fun in the wet with a low downforce setup when you're trying to go fast? So, but yeah, I mean, there might be a couple of people here that have raced around, I believe it was the 12-hour Paul Ricard, was completely wet the entire time. So a few people may have some pretty decent experience. There's some pretty big puddles out there that will catch off guard. But yeah, I don't think, well, maybe sliding the GTI around like that might be a bit fun, but it's certainly not very fast. So we'll see who can cope the best.
He who is last is sideways and smiling.
Yeah, I think that person's name is Chris Cooley. But yes, we continue the racing. P3 at the moment. Vediger, who has Joshua Vediger, that is, I believe, Ashley is also on the grid too. But Joshua Vediger in the Coca-Cola No Sugar livery Porsche. On board we go. You can see the spray. It's exactly what we were just talking about. The spray is pretty awful. Getting slightly squeezed there, but he'll go side by side. The 909 of Miros and the 999 of Vediger side by side. Miros pulls out to the outside. They're going to go potentially side by side into the right-hander, and Miros pulls into the background, but it's close as anything. Nippores nipping at their heels now as well. The sliding GTR in the background. That's going to be a fairly scary thing to see too.
That was a great move. Got it done before the corner, I guess. As we see Miros, a massive oversteer moment there. Really shows how slippery the track is at the moment. I don't think I've ever seen a track go from fast to wet so quickly.
Yeah, that was quite a transition, wasn't it? It was we were looking at a dry race, and yes, admittedly there was weather on the horizon, and we didn't really pick up on that. But yeah, it went from optimum to wet rather quickly. And here we go, a little replay of this beautiful move from Vediger. So Miros forced to the outside, tried to maybe do a cutback, but the other Porsche was right there. He had nowhere to go, nearly actually oversteered it as she tried to slow down and avoid the rear bumper of Vediger ahead. Vediger taking the wide line in there as well, and this is the result. Vediger does go up into P2, so great stuff. Pit is 3.2 seconds out in front. That is an impressive amount of time. It'll be interesting to see when the grids, those who pitted, those who didn't, sort of start to merge back together. We don't know when these guys at the front, guys and girls, are going to actually come back into the pits for their mandatory stop, though. Anyone's guess, I suppose, at this stage.
Yeah, I think assuming Vediger can stay ahead, I doubt he'll jump in anytime soon. I think he'll go as long as he can. Mia Rose, on the other hand, obviously, I reckon she'll try and get the position back. If she can't in a couple laps, she might decide to just get that clean air, as you mentioned before, George. Obviously, driving in the spray, as we saw earlier from Vediger, on board with Vediger there, is not fun, so we'll see. Again, similar story from Nippores there as well in the GTI, just behind this battle. Might see if he can pick up the pieces a bit, but if not, I reckon we'll see him jump in.
Maybe more. Tom McDonald has picked up a penalty. That's painful. That's a drive through track limits, first of the night.
Wow. Yeah, track limits in the wet are a bit more stricter than in the dry, so it's not, unfortunately, not surprising that we've seen one already, but hopefully he can quickly get that drive-through out the way and recover back to a decent position here. Pit lane isn't awfully long at Paul Ricard, especially in comparison to the lap time here, so he might be able to claw back a couple positions, but definitely unfortunate there for Mr. McDonald.
Yeah, I always hate to see it drive-throughs, but I suspect there may be a few over tonight between both splits. And the other thing to think of is this pit lane is quite notorious because it comes out right onto the racing lane. And with a little bit of spray and the wet racing going on, that could be very dangerous. So hopefully the drivers have their wits about themselves tonight.
So we see Steve Lewis and... not sure who that is ahead. Is that, I believe that is Ashley Vediger coming to the pits for their scheduled pit stop. So we'll see if one can jump the other in the pits here.
Tom McDonald also serving his drive-through as soon as possible. As soon as he got it, he's straight in. And you can see how quick the pit stop is going to be. No mandatory tyre change, of course. No one's going to be refueling in a 20-minute race. There's no advantage to be gained by putting in fuel. It's just time to be lost, and they're inside each other on pit exit. So let's just add some more complexity to this. Cars inside each other on pit exit, down the straight onto the racing line. Let's see how this goes. In comes a Porsche behind. That's Leela Bell. Goes to the inside. Very sensible thing to do there in this situation. Gets herself ahead, and through, I believe, goes another Ferrari, Steve Lewis as well. So he's managed to get himself up a little bit further in the grid as well. But I don't think he's pitted yet. I could be wrong about that, actually.
Show me closer racing than that, I dare you.
Oh, sorry, Steve Lewis has pitted twice, so this is for position.
That's an interesting strategy going twice. I assume he had damage.
Oh.
But, I've seen Mia Rose catch this car multiple times. Multiple times low. I reckon she's still got low downforce and she is pushing. Noticing that Matt's gotten ahead of her.
Yeah, I did see a quick yellow for the 909 just earlier, so a bit of an off-track expedition there, I reckon. But it does look, as you're saying, I reckon she wasn't able to bump that wing up in time to make the grid. So yeah, as she goes around the outside almost of Niferes here, I think he might just have to drive out the corner. Yeah, she has to tuck him back behind, but definitely feisty here. Definitely wants that position back, and I don't blame her.
Yeah, that was some decent defending there from Niferes, just holding the middle of the road even through the corner in the apex. And yeah, there's no real space on the outside for her to get anything done in that situation. And then of course the GTR playing to its strength, just accelerating out of the corner. And yeah, now Mia's sort of out of shot range, really. Unfortunately, that's a quick corner. She's taken that very quickly. The GTR. This is the GTR we saw sideways a number of times earlier on in the race, and still now. So Mia will probably have to try and take advantage of that. Even Pip, you can see Pip. That is not a straight car.
Yeah, it's apparently faster to go sideways in these conditions and looks spectacular. So, well, drivers, I'm sure, are having a lot of fun out here. And it's interesting to see Matt up in third, because according to this graph, he is a silver-rated driver. So it seems to be a battle between sort of the raw pace of Mia, but maybe the consistent driving from Matt currently in this situation. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure Mia will get more desperate as the race goes on, try and make a couple more moves. We'll see how Matt's defense holds up.
Indeed, and now time for a little bit of an overall race update. Hayden Master just picked up a drive-through penalty, unfortunately, for track limits. And there was a 15-second penalty for Tom McDonald, so it's gone from bad to worse to really bad. Yeah, not a night to forget, I think. That's very unfortunate. And Michael Baer picks up a drive-through, so as predicted in the commentary box, we're going well with our predictions so far. Many getting the drive-through penalties here tonight. Overall, though, in your race, of course, Philippa Bukida leading us in the pro category, then Niferes in P3 overall, leading silver class at the moment, doing a mega job in that GTR today. Then it's Pat Oliver in the AM class in P5. Impressive drive. We haven't focused a lot on Pat so far, but Pat's doing a mega job out there in the BMW, as Mia does. No, that's Joshua Vedega, sorry, coming into the pits for his mandatory pit stop. Then in Pro-Am class, it is Apreciado leading us away, and followed only a second behind is Horsberg. So that is a little battle going on there for the Pro-Am category at the moment, but this man right here in the BMW, what a job Pat Oliver has done so far today.
Yeah, it's great to see Paddy Oliver up there in fourth currently. Still needs to take the pit stop, but there's still quite a few left to do that. And speaking of, just watching Ashley Reynolds, number 28, coming up, seems to be starting to catch sort of the back of the field now. So might get a little bit of traffic. It'll be interesting to see how much time they've lost to Pip. I'm not going to say they've probably gained on Pip. That's very adventurous. But we'll see what it's like once Pip finally gets through the pits.
It's good that you mentioned that, actually. I'm just looking at the last lap time here. 2:03.6 for Reynolds and a 2:05.1 for Pip. So it does seem like Reynolds is, he's got some real pace out there. He's now up into P9 already. I don't think the timing screen that you are seeing there, chat, is reflecting that right now, but I'm seeing P9 for whatever reason.
Be a DT.
Oh, that's huge.
Unlucky. We've seen her
That is-
pushing quite a lot all night. We've seen a couple of moments, and it seems to have finally caught her up. And she's been hit with that track limits DT. That is very, very unfortunate. And there's a lot of them on the scoreboard right now.
Oh, that hurts. You hate to see it, especially when it's or anyone on the grid really getting a drive through. To be fair, but with the battle that we were having there, that really kind of just takes the wind out of the battle that was occurring. Ashton Reynolds making another move on camera 1 at the moment, while we follow on board with Perkins in that very, very yellow Ferrari.
I'm also just seeing in chat that Paddy Oliver is actually a pro. It is just simply a livery thing, as there's no... So it is still spectacular to see in fourth. That is a good night of racing. But maybe 454 of Sykes may, which isn't that far behind, is actually the year leader in AM.
That actually makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
I believe, according to the standings, Pat is in silver. Maybe he has been upgraded to pro, though. I mean, driving very well, of course. So that leaves Skies. Yeah, Skies is the AM class leader at the moment, I suppose.
As we see now, Pip coming out of the pits, and it looks like they've quite... Oh, that's very close, but have lost the spot. So there we go. That huge undercut has actually worked.
Right, that is massive for the race. Ashton Reynolds has moved up into P1. So Philippa will now be in chase, trying to catch up. That is an impressive move. So he really put in the lap times. The early pitting sort of put him in a similar position. He was leading the second half of the pack, essentially the ones that had pitted early on in this race. And with 3 minutes 20 on the clock, what is that gap right now? It is a couple of seconds, 3 seconds. So Pip has some work to do, and she will need to be putting in these lap times that Ashton is as well. 2:03.7 that last lap time. Fastest is a 2:03.3. That's quick in the wet. It is really quick in the wet. So Pip's going to have to absolutely fly. Pip is holding the fastest lap of the race, 2:03.0. But that was obviously earlier on in the race. We'll need to find that pace again after the pit stop.
Now, can I just confirm that Porsche in the middle there is Mia, but would be a lap down at this stage?
According to my timing screens, that's where Mia is. But
Even
no, Mia's got a pit. No, Mia hasn't completed the mandatory pit
she's just
stop.
done the
There we go.
drive-through. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
that makes more sense, doesn't it?
yes. So Pip should have some open air soon-ish, I would assume, to try and catch down Ashton, but also not a lot of time. That is 2 minutes. It is actually, it'll barely be 2 laps by the looks of it. Actually, no, I don't think it will be. Looks like this will be the last lap.
Yeah, so that has actually cost Pip quite a lot, having Mia in there, not having the mandatory pit stop earlier in the race and having to serve the drive-through instead, but probably going to have to be doing that right now. And will Mia do it? Yes, she does. So that does release Pip, but yeah, as I said, this is the last lap of the race. So it's really game on here for Ashton Reynolds to take the victory here today.
100%. All he has to do really is just keep it clean. With the pace difference isn't that big that Pip's going to catch the 2.9 seconds, I don't think, and make the pass as well. So yeah, as long as Reynolds keeps it clean here, I reckon he's got the win under his belt.
Yeah, it's the big if, keeping it clean, because he's still driving very quickly around a wet track. So, but he's done it for 19 minutes so far. I'm sure 1 minute more won't hurt.
They just need to remind themselves of that once they're 20 minutes through the next race, which is going to be 40 minutes coming up. We do have a qualifying session, but I believe the top 10 will not be qualifying in that session. Instead, they'll be reversed based on their results for race 1. I think that's how we do it here with these reverse grids.
Yeah, that's what was done for split yellow and green last night, so I have a feeling it should be a similar story tonight for this split. But going to be interesting as well. So a 40-minute race, that one, so twice as long as this one here. So a little bit more strategy potentially. As we've seen, we didn't think the strategy was really going to come into it, but it looks like it has. With Ashley Reynolds overtaking Philippa Bakita with a mega undercut.
Yeah, the real question going forward is, what is the weather going to do in the next qualifying session for those who are qualifying? Top 10 will not be qualifying. And then what will it do as we enter the grid for race 2, and how is that going to affect strategy? Now, if this was a dry race, 40 minutes, you probably just take 40 minutes worth of fuel. You might be able to half-half it, but again, no mandatory tyre requirements, so you might as well take full fuel, go for a short pit stop. So that's what I'd be expecting to see again. But I think what Ashton did was very, very clever. Took the opportunity to get out there and essentially hot lap in the wet. It's paid off massively. He will take the checkered flag here in race 1. That'll mean he starts P10 in race 2, but with his pace at the moment, he is looking on for a strong result in race 2 as well. Philip Abuquita comes home in P2 in this race and holds the fastest lap as well. Joshua Vertiger, P3 in the Porsche. A real Porsche sandwich at the moment, and Nipares P4 leads silver class for race 1. Well done there. Leela Bell takes P5, P2 in silver class, followed by Pat Oliver, our silver driver. Does look like definitely a silver driver out there. Preciado P7, Begg in P8, Piper in P9, and Horsberg in P10. And that is your top 10. It will be reversed. So actually it'll be Horsberg who actually leads us away for race 2. Nice.
Horsberg and Piper, front row of the grid for the next race, should be very good, and it'll be very exciting to watch everyone come back through the field. These split sprints work very well at Paul Ricard because there's plenty of room for racing. So it's going to be very exciting to watch this next race play out.
It's going to be very interesting. So I believe it might be Brett Piper. I'm not going to assume here. Piper in the 26 Bentley here. Qualified P6 in the qualifying just before for race 1. So he's definitely got the pace. It's going to be interesting to watch him start from P2 for this reverse grid here. As long as all things go to plan for him. As we see the McLaren here taking the alternate line, so Paul Ricard. But Piper here might be able to take out the win, judging by his pace from the qualifying session just before and starting P2.
Yes, indeed. So one to watch as well in next qualifying will be Mia Rose. Obviously has top 3 pace at the moment out there, but has ended up P16 after that drive-through penalty. So it's really cost her in this race, unfortunately. These things, of course, do happen in the wet. Sometimes it's impossible to avoid it, especially if you do, lose a little bit of traction. Well, you're going to be going over that white line one way or another. But Mia Rose will have the opportunity to qualify in P11 if she does get the best time out there. She is one of those who will be out there qualifying the top 10, finishing, will be sitting in the pits and waiting their turn. And then the grid will get sorted out once we get the race underway. It is dry. It is 35 degrees Celsius. Amazing how the weather works.
Yeah, I guess last race was just a bit of an anomaly. Back to the very, very warm summer climate of France, I assume. But yeah, I guess maybe a little more boring strategy-wise, but I guess people are going to be a bit more comfortable and maybe bring on some great racing.
Yep, exactly right. And of course, a dry race, so a wet race to sort of mix things up a little bit, but the reverse grid always bringing in some action. So it will be very, very cool to see Ashlyn, and hopefully we're going to see basically a battle that was P1, P2, P3 in the first part of the race 1. Will now be happening from P11, P10, P9, assuming my prediction that Mia can qualify at the top of the grid for this part here. It's going to happen, and it's going to be happening with, can't do math on stream, but 8 cars in front of them, all of which will be fundamentally slower, especially if it's dry conditions. We saw that qualifying difference in the dry for race 1, 53.2 for Pip, and the rest of the top 3 in the low 54s, and even lower. I think it was actually, they were all in 3s, I believe. So yeah, it's going to make for a spicy race. I love reverse grids.
Yeah, the reverse grids are a lot of fun. Maybe a bit of a steward's nightmare. I myself have been in the shoes of being sort of like a pro-am driver, as you see Ben saying yes, he's also part steward. He's not as much of a fan, but I've been in the shoes of being a pro-am first season. Ended up, I think it was 10th or 11th at the end of the first race and nearing the front of the grid for the second race, and having those faster drivers come up behind you is scary. But it's a lot of fun because there's a lot of racing to be had, so it'll be interesting to see how everyone ends.
And
Yeah.
a good point being made from chat. Sorry to interrupt. We have shifted days, so that's why. So it's not me being like, oh yeah, well, 1 hour later there was no rain and it was completely beautiful. No, so actually the races, race 1, race 2, split up between 2 days in game. Saturday And then, so Saturday 2 p.m. and now it's Sunday at 4 p.m. So this is going to be a race starting at 8 p.m. in game. So well done, chat, for being onto it. So it might get a little dark out there, chaps.
Yeah, I was going to say, I reckon we're going to see the sunset here at Ricard starting at 8 o'clock. Definitely going to make it a little bit interesting. Maybe a touch harder to see, especially for the drivers, but definitely going to be a pretty race, if nothing else.
There will be some eye candy out on track. Yeah, there is nothing quite like glowing brakes and headlights streaming around a course like this, especially Sector 3, because those brakes do not cool down all the way through that sector. Having a few issues out there as they start their qualifying. 6 minutes 44 remaining. This is only a 10-minute qualifying session. So there is less time out there to get things done. The track condition is fast, so yeah, surely we see optimum conditions before the end of the session.
Yeah, very similar to the last qualifying session. I think there's a bit more wind this one here, so it's up to 5 k's an hour. I think it was about 0 the previous one, and the wind can bring on a bit of a weather change as well. So I mean, you can't write off the rain for this second race either, but I reckon the track should, with 30 odd drivers doing laps, the track should tick over to optimum any time now.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in the weather boat again with 5k an hour wind. I reckon there might be rain by 8. I'm gonna hope for it. A wet night race? Yeah, we want that.
Yeah, well, I think we all want to see that. I think that's a fair point. Hey, weatherman, that's my job. I got relegated to that back at Bathurst in season 14 or something. But nonetheless, our first hot lap should be coming in very, very soon. I believe that is a 54.6 on the board for Joshua Holmes. Scott Blair goes in behind, 55.1 there from him. Ashley Johnston goes and takes P2 away. Technically P, do math on screen, P12. Thank you. I can do the weather, you guys can do the math. 54.7 there from Ashley Johnston. No time on the board there for Mia Rose. Actually, there is, but it's a 56.0, so that's not a good lap.
No, really struggling with the qualifying tonight is Mia Rose. Hopefully she can get a lap in, well, a better lap in, because we know she can definitely go quicker than that. But yeah, definitely struggling with the Porsche here. It's definitely one of those cars that's either quick or stable. There's no in between.
It's one of those situations where, I mean, with a wet weather race, you'd be looking to maybe adjust some of those settings that you've got out there. But, you know, a driver of Mia's caliber can take a car like this with a very unstable setup that will be fast in the right places and take it through pretty much any conditions. But, yeah, that Porsche just looks unruly. And I get the feeling that those of us who have driven a Porsche will just do the old Porsche doing Porsche things. It does kind of want to kill you, I feel.
Yep, definitely has its own quirks. The 992 definitely less of a death trap than the old 991.2. But yeah, still has, yeah, as I said, it has its quirks, and one of its quirks is wanting to kill you every chance it gets.
And never underestimate the sort of your mental part of this as well, because she's obviously come off not a great race, so maybe the car's not feeling great, and then she's had a bad race, and now she's had to go straight out to qualifying again. Gets to the best of us. So hopefully she can clear ahead. Got another 40-minute race ahead and put in some good laps.
Yeah, that is very true, Austin. Also overdriving the car after having a night thus far like that. Very easy to do. You just want to push. And obviously pushing too hard is just as bad as not pushing enough, so.
And I'm already getting hate in chat for my Porsche comment, but you know, we don't tell the future here. We don't make opinions. We make conversation topics that are argumentative. Nonetheless, Scott Blair goes to the top there, 54.1. He's 2/1000ths of a second away from McKellar, who's put in a stellar time as well in the 111 Ferrari. Well done there. We're still on board with Mia Rose. We've got our fingers and toes crossed for her tonight. The mental aspect of it is tough. I mean, again, opinions of a track as well. If you love Bathurst and you go wrong on it, you can, any track that you like, you can usually find your feet quite quickly again. If you're not necessarily the biggest fan of a track, it can go from bad to worse and it can stay worse very, very easily. So far, not finding any time in this lap is Mia, but a little bit there on Hotel, does lose it again. It's just going to be about those exits, try and get the car turned in, but it seems to be playing ball, I'll be honest with you guys.
Yeah. It seems almost uncanny. Like at the moment, 1.8 seconds off of Blair's pole time, or provisional pole time at the moment, and not gaining anything through the field. In fact, losing a 10th almost in that first sector. It seems like something's off here. Hopefully it's just a really bad third sector, and we see a 1.5 second improvement, if not more, in that last sector. We'll just see that delta just spam up green, as we see. Goes up a 10.5 there. 2 tenths, 2.5 tenths, so definitely gaining. There's all the time. 8 tenths up there. Still about 7 tenths off pole, provisional pole time at the moment. Rounding the second to last corner here. 1.7, 1.8, 10 seconds green, 2 seconds green. There we go. So it looks like she's going to put in the lap, and it's going to be good enough to hit Blair a provisional pole at the moment by a fair margin as well, just under 2 tenths. So a 54.010 for Mia Rose in the 909 Porsche. Hopefully that gives her a bit of a mojo back, putting in a pretty darn good lap time, especially under pressure, like second to last lap.
Yeah, that seemed like a pretty good lap. It seemed with the constant time gains in the last sector there, maybe it just caught up to someone at the end of her original qualifying session and just drove around to at least finish the lap. But yeah, that was a pretty solid lap, and certainly not going to be complaining too much with what's going to be 11th for me.
Yeah, and she'll be right in the battle, potentially able to follow through Pip and Ashlyn all the way through the grid, as they will inevitably climb through the grid. It was fascinating being on board there with Mia. The lines that she was taking were very interesting. I mean, it's, when you run a low wing, you've got to do exactly what Mia was doing. You've got to brake really heavily in a straight line, and then you pray that the understeer doesn't, take you far wide of the apex. And she absolutely nailed it. It was a really, really good lap. 54.0 is absolutely nothing to scoff at. Obviously, we did see Pip do a 53.2, but, we can always say that's Pip. On board now with Scanlon. He's going through Signals right now. Hold it in. Yes, he does. Still valid through there. Gained a little bit of time on the entry. How is he going to navigate those sets? Let's see. Finds a bit of time. Starts to lose it, of course. One of those really tricky corners where you just got to do the practice to learn exactly where that happens. Has found a bit of time there. Wide entry, and through we go towards Bendor, the second most famous corner at this track, I believe, for the OOR community. Continuing to find time here. This could potentially put him up ahead of Ashley Johnson, who is now in the pits, and his qualifying is over. 2 tenths, found it on entry, finds it on exit. It's just got to get it turned in. Misses the apex slightly. Not great there. It's going to cost him on exit. Still going to be up by probably 1.5 tenths. It's just going to be good enough. P4 for Scanlon. Nice end to the lap there.
Yeah. And in the meantime as well, Mia Rose just improved about 2.5 tenths on her previous best there as well. So I reckon she's got the confidence to push here. And the lap time just under about half a second, I think, off what Pip did in qualifying 1. So definitely got the pace. Blair decides to do a bit of style points there.
Blair with the flare.
Yeah, there we go.
And here we are on our start grid. It's dry,
lining
isn't it?
up in boring. It looks good in the sunset though.
That is true. So how long is it going to take for us to get some night racing here? We're going to see that it's a 40-minute race. So we might not see a full night race here because it won't be midnight by the time we finish. But if it gets dark, that'd be nice. I forget how much I don't think I've raced here at night at Paul Ricard. How much illumination is there around this track? I assume a lot.
Oh, I don't remember exactly the last time. I just did like a little fun run here to help a mate out. Nighttime in the wet at Paul Ricard, and it wasn't as bad as I was expecting, but then again, I wasn't doing it competitively, so that might have clouded my judgment there. But there's not a whole lot of illumination as far as I'm aware. It's really just your headlights, a little bit down the pit straight. But yeah, definitely going to be a different kind of challenge, I reckon.
Yeah, it'll be a fun one for all the people out there with the nice monitors staring straight into the sunset. It's quite bright.
It's like when Glenn does his big red sign, the big red flag on the screen, and blinds us all for a couple of seconds. That's always good fun. Here we are on the grid, so we will let the top 10 cars in reverse order in their race 1 finishing configuration. They will go through, they'll line up, and then the rest of the grid will be released by the race director. They will then line up essentially directly behind. So it will be P11 Mia Rose, P12 Blair, P13 Michaela, P14 Scanlon, and down the grid we go. So that means, I believe it is Hayden Marsh rounding out the grid today in P24. So he'll be fighting from the back. Of course, those liveries looking beautiful. 40 minutes here on the clock. And yeah, it will be a bit of one of those races where the strategy is fairly dull for the most part. But I'm really interested to see. Reynolds did really well pitting early. That absolutely suited his strategy, his style. He got that clean air that he was looking for. It is entirely possible to do 1 or 2 laps. He's going to be further down the grid in a potentially a much more dangerous situation. He's going to have Pip in front of him. He's going to have Mia in front of him. So basically a scenario, that exactly the same scenario from race 1. Does he decide then to go for another early pit stop, get out, you know, no tire change, no refueling, get in, get out, and get some fresh air out there?
Yeah, it's honestly quite a smart play, to be honest. I would suspect a couple of the faster guys are going to drop in very quickly. Because, yeah, just warming yourself up for the first couple of laps, being stuck behind drivers that are below your pace, it's just going to lose you time. So if you manage to get out to clean air, build your rhythm, and get up to your pace faster, it'll gain you a bunch of spots.
100%. I've just noticed the temperature there is now 21. That's going to continue to drop off as the sun sets on Paul Ricard here. It's going to be a lot nicer on the tyres. I reckon we'll see some quicker lap times as well. And obviously the cars won't slide it around as much. When the track's hot, like 35 and over, the track just feels like you're driving on ice. It's not a fun experience.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, as you said, it will continue to drop in temperature. It is optimum out there, but you know, optimum with cool temperatures, I mean, it's, you know, it's fairly marginal, and you will notice the grip dropping off pretty rapidly. I do want to put everyone in the situation that Garth Forsberg is in right now. Pro-Am driver in a McLaren, right at the front of the grid, probably for the first time in an OOR Sprint Series race. How's that going to feel?
It is terrifying.
Yeah.
Awesome for the formation lap, and then I think it might dawn on him a little bit. But I mean, to get P10 in the first race, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, yep, in the first race. So starting this one here up in P1, he's going to have a lot of pressure from Piper behind. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a pass there on the first lap. Just because Piper, I reckon, does have the pace advantage, but Horsburgh to maintain P10 in that first race, I reckon he's definitely got some pace behind him. So I reckon he'll do pretty well here, especially starting from P1.
Yeah, those in chat, do let us know your predictions for this second race of Split Blue. We'll have Split Red coming up afterwards, so the Simrigs Sprint Series continues with race 2 for Split Blue. It's going to be a fascinating race to watch. I think we're all very excited to see what happens. I think the grid order is about the same for heart rate. So if we monitored the heart rate of all the drivers, I think P1 would have the highest heart rate out there right now. So of course we do wish everyone who's starting a little further up the grid than they usually would the best of luck out there. You know, race clean, race hard. It is optimum conditions. So at least they're not dealing with the rain. That'll be a relief, I think, for the top 6 or 7 drivers. My money here, I think I get the feeling that Nipares is going to do something pretty special here today. The pace that he had shown out on track was easily top 3 pace. He's now sitting P7, got the likes of Leela Bell, Pat Oliver, Preciado and Begg in front. So it's quite, I think there's a lot of potential there. If he can hold up Vediger even a little bit, which he did do in race 1, that'll slow down Pip, that'll slow down Reynolds, and that'll slow down Mia.
Yeah, but then again, you can't write off Piper here. I reckon if he does slow up the ones behind, I reckon Piper's going to start driving away. There are a couple of drivers between them, so you got Layla Bell, who's not she's pretty quick as well. You've got Oliver, Apreciado, and Beg as well, splitting up Niperez and Piper in the Bentley ahead. So going to be very interesting to see how this one pans out. As we're rounding the final few corners here to start race 2 in the Simrigs Sprint Series at Paul Ricard here tonight.
Yeah. Looking forward to the start of this race. Going to be lots of fun because obviously with the faster drivers behind, slower drivers in front, everyone's going to compact up quickly. Hope everyone keeps their wits about them. And I am looking forward to an exciting 40 minutes of racing.
To your right. 40 minutes begins momentarily, 8:06 p.m. out on track. Paul Ricard, the second race for Split Blue tonight. This will decide who comes out on top. Lots of points available, of course. Side by side do go the cars, and we're waiting for race control to give us that race initialized and the green flag from the control box. The big green button to be hit in just a second. The grid looking a little split up there in the front. The P1's looking a little further ahead than he maybe should be. We'll see what's happened there. Nonetheless, we are off. We are racing. There's nearly 4 wide. There is 4 wide. Oh, there's contact immediately. And Niperez has gone up the inside. And that's 3 or 4 positions gained immediately there for Niperez. Absolute magic. And it looks like Piper has also gone straight up into P1.
Yeah, what a start. I suspect leader may have thought the green lights would come a bit sooner, but obviously it's a bit delayed because everyone is jumbled after the qualifying, so it's always a bit later than you think. We'll see what the stewards think of that and see what comes of it, but you are right, Benny Piper. Straight up at the front. Oh, and we see Nippers around. No.
Oh, no.
Oh, that's tough.
That is a big accident, and I do get the feeling, I get the scent of a safety car in the air, and those cars will look awful slow. It is indeed a safety car, because that was a big accident. Again, at Hotel. Why is it always at Hotel? We're 3 turns into the first lap, and we have another safety car here at AP Blue, so a repeat in the dry, as we did from race 1. Yeah, big F in chat. That's absolutely right. But nonetheless, so there's been some incredible moves up there. Piper, P1, gets done immediately. Horsberg gone from P1 to P3. Here's a replay. Oh, he got turned around, and that was it. Yeah, dear, that's painful to see. That really is a real shame for Niperez there.
Yeah, such a small contact as well, just from the BMW behind. Just that concertina effect as they came into a fairly tight corner. But yeah, it all kicked off at that first corner. We had like almost 4 wide coming into a little bit of a hip and shoulder on the Porsche of Layla Bell there. Obviously, Piper and the Bentley up into P1. And Niperez gained a couple places, but unfortunately he's lost them back down. Just, yeah, a bit unlucky, as we said. Bit of a tap on the rear there from the BMW. As we see the replay here, just gets on the power a touch too early, or maybe gets a tap from behind as well, potentially. And just a couple cars spinning, and that's why we've got our virtual safety car called.
Just going to point out that car that is currently driving around in 5th is Pip. So has made quite the start herself already. Doesn't look like it's going to take much longer.
No, you're absolutely right. So Pip up to P5 there. Mia Rose has managed to follow Pip through and is still holding just behind Pip. Ashton Reynolds, though, it's really gone wrong. He's in P12, and I get the feeling he might have gotten a little bit of damage and been involved in that turnaround with the GTR of Niperez. If that is the case, then he is in all sorts of trouble in this race. But maybe it'll play into his hands. He can go for that pit stop and then just go for those faster laps. So this could potentially play into his strategy. I believe we're about to get the race underway. Again, Piper will be in control of when we get started again. The dual camera up. So we're on the rear view mirror now on camera 2 of Pip, looking back at Mia Rose's very pink Porsche. And on camera 1, you are seeing the restart of the race right now with Piper leading, followed by Beg, followed by Horsberg, followed by Apreciado, and then camera 2. And I believe Yep, the pedal has been pushed. It's green flag racing out there right now. Beg is almost going to be looking for a move up the inside into the first corner. He's going to have the overlap, and he will be able to do it. So Piper has gone from P1 to P2 almost immediately. What a restart there for Beg. Was absolutely on the rear bumper all the way through and absolutely nailed the timing and has got himself up into P1 immediately. So BMW now leading the race in P3 with a bit of a gap back to P4. It is Horsberg. And Pip, having a few struggles there, does get the overtake on Apreciado, and now Mia Rose will be looking to get her Porsche in front of that Ferrari. She'll have a great opportunity to do so on the pit, on the long straight of Mistral straight coming up right now. So GTR of Pip up a position again, and now in chase after the McLaren ahead of Horsberg. And no slipstream for Pip this lap. She will be pulling along Apreciado and Mia Rose, and it'll be really on Mia Rose to find a way through.
As it looks like she's side by side here with the Ferrari, or just out. No, she's got, oh, not really. Looking the long way around here, so we're going to go 3 wide into the right-hander at the end of the straight.
Wow.
And all clean. I believe that's a McLaren in the middle there, just backed out a touch and let the Ferrari and Mia in the Porsche just go around the inside and the outside. It looks like he's going to lose the position here to Bell as well. That is a Ferrari, I apologize.
Yeah, gotta love that sort of racing that you're going to get here. The track's so wide. And honestly, kudos to the drivers managing 3 wide through that. That is impressive.
I'm having flashbacks to Häkkinen and Schumacher overtaking at Spa in the wet. Yes, fantastic racing nonetheless. We continue. I'm not quite sure who else was involved in that. It was Mia Rose. I do think that was Joshua Holmes. Into the pits comes Piper. So Piper, P2, goes straight into the pits. Maybe trying something very similar to what Reynolds did, trying to emulate the good run of luck he had. The undercut obviously seeming quite strong. Certainly in the wet, we certainly know that. Whether or not it's as strong in these dry conditions, we will find out. Leela Bell in P6, we're on board with her at the moment for Team Iris in the 251 Porsche. Very purple, do gotta like that. 34 minutes on the clock. Looks like Bakita is now about to go up into P2. Yep, Horsberg has been pipped, and Pip goes up into P2 now. That is quite the charge from Pip, and she's put a car in between her and Mia, as well as a few seconds on the clock.
Yeah, great moves by Pip, and I'm sure she'll be on the back of Grant Begg soon, but I'm sure Begg will be able to put up quite a fight. He's not the slowest driver. He has a lot of pace in him. So it'll be interesting to see if he manages to hold up Pip and for how long, and if that plays into the strategy for anyone else trying to catch up.
So we have some comments in chat from Megan D. Welcome in, of course, and hello to everyone in chat. Hope you're enjoying the racing. And this, I believe, is a replay of the move. Yep, overlap has been achieved. And a little bit of late braking there just to seal the maneuver. Pip, beautiful overtake into turn 1 after the straight. Nothing that Horsberg could do there. Very, very clean, sensible overtake. Apparently, Pip has been told in voice chat to play nice, and she has said no. So there we go. That's the mindset of someone this fast.
No, I don't think you could expect that from Pip, to be honest. You'll either defend for your life, or she overtakes you. Or she just overtakes you anyway. So have fun.
Yep, I think that is exactly right. 55.5 is the fastest lap out there. Pip making the moves and is about to go for a move, I believe, on our leader. Yeah, here we go into turn 1 again. And it's up the inside. She's got the overlap. I think, yeah, it's just done. It's just done. I think, as you said just before, you try and defend, and you get overtaken anyway.
Yeah, I think Begg just pulled out of that a little bit. Just said, like, nah, you can have it. It's not worth the fight. I don't think he's really fighting Bakita in this race. Not actually 100% sure. Oh, as we see... Oh no. That's a bit unfortunate there. Not sure how that initial contact happened, but we saw a couple cars spinning. The silver McLaren on screen of Johnston here managed to recover fairly well, unfortunately with the help of bumping somebody else who, again, didn't quite catch who that was. So hopefully they've got going and they haven't lost too much time or position.
As you see, Horsburgh with a 10-second penalty, I suspect for the very start of the race. That did seem a little strange. It'd be interesting to get any clarification if anybody knows, but yeah, Horsburgh hit the 10-second penalty.
Yeah, it was a little bit out of position, it seemed, didn't it? Just seemed to be... Might have thought the race was starting at the line, and as you said before, you know, just didn't quite anticipate the delayed start that does happen when reverse grid like this happens. He was a car length and a half, if not maybe two, ahead of Piper. So that could well be the cause of it, but that's really unfortunate. Replay we go, and oh, Ashley Johnson's been rear-ended there. And unfortunately, it's caused a subsequent incident. And those are two very similar livery cars being sent off in the collision. But Ashley Johnson does recover. Oh, sorry, no, that's Horsburgh in the silver one. So I think Ashley Johnson must have been one of the ones collected there.
Yeah, it looks like poor Horsburgh got rear-ended there, and then the third party was Ashley Johnson got collected on the way out, which is sad to see. So it looks like Horsburgh's coming in to serve his pit stop and his penalty now. Not the best of starts for the race for him, sadly. It's a lot of pressure starting from the front because you're not used to the way things run when you're at the front. Whoa, that was close.
That was very close. We've got a three-way battle here for what looks like P10?
I think it's P11.
P11.
That was scary. I'm just going to say that was very, very scary and nicely avoided there. I think that was Lewis who avoided the contact. I get the feeling it might have been Lewis who was actually caught up in that contact. That might have been him that went into the back of Horsburgh there, actually.
And yeah, just a confirmation, the 10 seconds for Horsburgh was for the jump start.
Yeah, that is no surprise. It was pretty clear cut, unfortunately. And that is the pressure, though, when you do end up in that situation, and then you've got the race director giving you control of the race and telling you all these things, and you're also thinking about all the fast drivers behind you. And I've always spoken about mental bandwidth, and I think that's something that's taught and trained in the academy and talked about by a number of drivers on Octane Online Racing. How much mental bandwidth are you spending on what? When you go from P10 to P1, you're running on about 20% mental bandwidth for the actual racing, and everything else is sort of flashing lights. So blinded by the lights there a little bit, I think, and it just got unfortunate. Whoa, that was very close. So that's Mia Rose going through on Beg, and that was unbelievably close. So
Yeah.
Beg's sort of just not fighting these positions, really, is he?
Yeah, it feels like
a drift coming out the last corner just to seal the deal. Love that.
looks like Beg's been getting a little bit bullied tonight by all the faster drivers, but keeping out of contact, staying safe, racing his own race, it's a smart way to go.
So our predictions are not looking pretty good here, unfortunately. Oh, yeah, was that just was that him trying to get out of the way? Was that just
I think he saw it coming and just said, "I'm just going to avoid the contact and just concede the position."
Yep.
Fair play. I don't think Mia was expecting that, though.
No.
Luckily no contact between the two from what we could tell, so shouldn't be any repercussions from that whatsoever. Still a very close battle going on here. Lila Bell in P4, so she is having a really good race at the moment. McKellar in P5, so those are your two top silver category drivers as it stands right now, although Piper, of course, has come in for the early pit stop. We'll keep a very close eye on that Bentley for the remainder of the race, because I get the feeling that Piper is going to be putting in some good lap times from back there.
Last lap of 56.6 compared to Pip's 53.6, so I mean, I'm rooting for him, but hopefully he can find some clean air here. 1.3 second, 1.2 now the gap. 1 second the gap to Vedica ahead. So hopefully these two can push through the field, because I believe Vedica has pitted as well. And obviously a very quick driver. I think he took P3 in race 1, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah.
Yeah, and we've just had some serious spice down at Bosset and Cygnus there. So Scanlon going sideways through Cygnus, then running a little bit wide, unfortunately, as well. So he's top of Pro-Am right now as it stands, even with the pit stops, I believe. But this battle has been absolutely mega. He's got, I believe that is Appreciato and Johnson behind him. So those three have been going at it, and Johnson is trying desperately to recover from the incident that he was involved in just a few laps ago. But that was quite a moment. We've had some eyes in chat as well.
Be interesting because the track is cooling down, and I don't think it's enough, but obviously your tires will cool down in the pit stop, so these earlier pit stops might actually be the play because you get the heat back in the tires. 21-21. I don't think it's going to come into play as much as I was expecting, but these early pit stops and the undercut might be the strategy tonight. So I guess we're going to have to wait and see.
As we see Paddy Oliver with a 10-second penalty. Be interesting to see what that's for. Maybe a bit of contact at the start of the race somewhere.
Yeah, I have a feeling he was up in that P5, P6 slot. Might have copped the blame for the little bump that we saw on the straight there just before T1.
Actually, Paddy Oliver was the one that ended up in the back of Matt Nippers, right, at the start of the race. Was that?
Yes, I believe that is.
Yeah,
that is right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think what was happening? It looked like Paddy Oliver just took a little bit too much speed, maybe into the apex, or just wasn't expecting the Constantina effect as much as it did happen. It's a really tricky one, isn't it? Especially on lap 1, you're all a tenth or two away from each other. You come through turn 3, you're getting slower. Everyone's doing different things in turn 4, and then suddenly into a hard braking zone, which could be wide to try and open up Bohm and into Mustral. You could be going shallow to try and defend, and you just get a mix-up and a big Constantina effect, especially on that lap 1. So in some ways, I guess you could say it's no surprise that you almost always see an incident in that turn on lap 1, sadly.
Yeah, always going to see those kinds of things. It's just part of racing, to be honest. Do your best to avoid it. It'll be interesting to see as the race goes on if we get many DTs, because obviously it's no longer racing, so you got a bit more grip, a bit more control. But obviously the track limits here are so strict.
Yeah, I was also going to say, I reckon turn 1 here is a fairly heavy braking zone as well. So I think everybody's just like, okay, we'll get through turn 1 and turn 2 here because it's a bit of a complex. But turn 1 and turn 2 cleanly, and then they sort of get a bit more racy for turn 3. They're just like, okay, we've got through turn 1 and turn 2. Nice, safe, no contact, let's go. Let's push a little bit harder, and they kind of forget there is another big braking zone coming up. But the Constantine effect can sometimes catch you off guard.
Yep, it's never fun, and this is why we tell the drivers in qualifying to find their gap. It's a very long track, you've got plenty of opportunity to find that, so it's easy to do at a circuit like this. Always fun when you go to Brands Hatch and some of those shorter race tracks, because Constantina is sometimes unavoidable in qualifying. You just hope you don't see too much of it in the race as well. On board now with Piper, and Piper is currently in P14. It's got Joshua Vediger ahead of him, though, so that makes me think that he's lost the position there, and that Bentley is looking rather sideways through a lot of the moment.
Yeah, with a bit of oversteer there. So you've got Vediker not too far up the road, so hopefully these guys here can push through the field. Obviously, Vediker, a very quick driver, so Piper should just be able to follow him here. Won't be too much of a fight, but he does also have Reynolds just behind, closing the gap. 2 tenths, 1 tenth now. In the slipstream, might pull out here and look for something into the right-hander, and he does, and the Bentley goes a touch wide, but might keep it on the exit yet. Reynolds keeps it mostly on track and just slots him back in behind, but definitely showed the nose there. Getting Piper, it's just look in his rearview mirrors, we see another slide there. Bentley's not looking awfully stable.
Yeah, you keep putting your nose in places, keep making the driver ahead look in the rear view mistake eventually. So Reynolds definitely has the pace, the raw pace on Piper, but you still got to get past. So see what they do.
Yep, catching the gap is very different to taking a position.
Yeah, exactly right. Especially when you're a faster driver as well. You can use things like slipstreams to your advantage. We saw Pip, take mega advantage of it on the exit, especially at turn 15, the last corner. Obviously, just finding ways that others do not know of to find good traction on the exit. And that's the sort of class difference there. This is not working out particularly well for Reynolds, though. He would have, I'm sure, liked to have been past these two and leading the pack of those who have already pitted. He's technically in P3 of all of those that have pitted so far. We do know that, of course, he dropped down to P12, so it has been a pretty mega fight back at the moment. I'd probably guess he's around P6 overall in the race right now, possibly P5, does depend a little bit. But unfortunately for Reynolds, being stuck behind Piper is doing his race no good at all, especially when you've got Bakita out there setting 53s. It's the polar opposite of what we saw in race 1. Reynolds was out there setting 2:03s, and Pip wasn't really able to match that for most of her stint when she stayed out. Now it's the same strategy situation Reynolds was at the pit earlier again, but now he's stuck behind these cars and not really able to put in the lap times that I'm sure he knows he can do. Another chance here. Let's see what he can do. Fair racing happened last time, but that is a good overlap there from Reynolds, and he will get the move done. Nothing that Piper can do in that situation.
Yeah, it looked like Piper was trying to sort of get that cut back, sort of go out wide and cut it back inside and try and get the inside for this next corner. But yeah, Reynolds was able to carry enough speed. It wasn't a problem. So now let's see what kind of laps they can put in. See where they can get up to.
I have to call our attention to our drive-throughs. Horsberg, he's in P23. He's got a drive-through penalty. Wood's got 15 seconds. I think Hayden Marsh might have picked up 15 seconds as well. And Frustuck as well, the M-Class driver in Lamborghini. I think one of the only ones, if not the only Lamborghini on track, with a drive-through as well. So, unfortunately, halfway through this race, it has gone wrong for a number of drivers out there. So, a bit gutted to see. Just briefly on board with Wood, now on board with Horsberg. And yeah, your former leader of this race, he had all the pressure on his shoulders. You hate to see someone drop down the grid so far. P10 as a Pro-Am driver in race 1, very, very impressive result. P1, of course, starting the race 2, but it has gone, sadly, very sideways for him.
Yes, the racing gods giveth, the racing gods taketh away. You hate to see sort of the race end up this way, but yeah, you know, it's just one of those things that you've never learned to deal with at this stage, starting from P1 race, and there's a lot to think about. So take it on board for next time.
Yeah, take it as a learning experience, and you learn the things that you can, and then you continue to improve yourself as a driver, and hopefully find yourself up in P1 again at some point. Chill cameras up now. We've just crossed half race distance in race 2, so 19 minutes and 30 seconds now on the clock. The temperature seems to be pretty stable out there. Optimum conditions, of course, and no rain on site. It is getting slightly darker. That sun is getting rather low, so might be fairly difficult in some of these corners. A battle going on between, I believe that's McDonald and McDonald and Ashley Johnson. And McDonald gets all sorts of sideways there in turn 14. Held onto it really nicely, though.
Yeah, he did. I reckon he's just dabbed the brakes there with a bit of steering angle just to not go up the back of Johnston ahead. And obviously, there's big canister moment, but he's done well to hang on to that and not lose too much time either.
It's a tricky one, isn't it? The defending your position through sector 3 becomes a bit of a mind game, really, doesn't it? As we do go on board now with McDonald for a replay. Oh, that was a big snap. Scary place to have it as well, because it's you know, once you get off that inner camber of the corner, your car just disappears to the outside. But it is one of those potential defensive techniques, an alternative line that maybe catches off guard the person who's trying to overtake, can be a really good asset and a really good tool in for defensive driving to hold onto your position. The question is it all going to be over? Because the slipstream happens at the Mistral Straight, and when you're racing this close, the slipstream is inevitable. Using that side draft now is McDonald, really even Stevens, but does look like there's just a little bit of an advantage for the Ferrari of McDonald. He will be on the outside, though. Not a pleasant place to be. Actually trying to squeeze him to give him space. A little bit of rough and tumble there. Shoulders being scraped. Oh, and McDonald will go around the outside. Of course, the inside, not a fun place to be in Signes. Well done there for McDonald.
Yeah, that is a great move. Textbook there. Johnston wasn't going to give him anything, even trying to bump him back over, but he held his ground. He pulled out at the last second just to get that, open the corner up. And yeah, just goes around the outside. We'll see if Johnston has a reply here, but I think McDonald is going to take it and run.
I predict a continuation, but we'll see. We will see. Of course, we know McDonald is a very, very fast contender in this race, pro category of driver, of course. And for anyone who has driven with a McDonald ahead, you know that he is a staunch defender, very, very good at his craft there. And he's a tricky guy to get past, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I love to see this sort of racing. A bit of Robbins racing actions right there. Everyone got through the corner, was fine. I'm sure lots of the time right now. So interesting to see if McDonald can pull the gap. I know the McLaren can be pretty quick in a straight line, but if he's not there in the slipstream by a Mistral Straight, I reckon that's deal done.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, and then of course you get into sector 3 and a Ferrari, which usually runs a lot more wing by default, even on low wing setup tracks. It'll just have the grip. It's got the turn-in, it's got the grip, and it will start to soar away. It does look like Ashley Johnson is still in the slipstream range, but half a second down, so it won't be a significant slipstream. We've just had Megan D in the chat saying they have dared Pip to finish the race with no TC. Well, that's really interesting. I wonder if we can find out if Pip is actually running 0 TC now at the front of this race. She is 14 seconds clear of P2 at the moment, so I think that's a fair dare, to be completely honest with you. Let's see if we can pull up the information. Now, the broadcaster doing a mega job. TC is off. Oh, Pip. Oh, Pip. Good luck. But I think we all know what's going to happen here. She'll be fine.
Yeah, I think it would just be this last corner here, and maybe the right-hander just before the next right-hander, before the Mistral straight. They'll really test her throttle control. All the other corners here, fairly high speed. So TC0, again, quite the meta in ACC at the moment for the really quick people. Which is a bit unfortunate because these cars really rely on the TC to be quick in real life, but something that Kunos, I hope, is looking at. But yeah, we'll see how Bakita does. As you said, I reckon she'll be just fine, but it will be interesting to see.
Yeah, just one of those things with the TC. It's obviously maybe not so realistic, but obviously it's not easy to drive no TC. So if you manage to pull it off, more power to you, I say. And Pip is definitely one of those people.
Yeah,
does make me wonder if we put Pip in a real world GT3 car with no TC, whether or not the techniques would actually translate a little bit. It's quite possible that they do. But, you know, of course, when you're in a real race car, it's not just the $1 million machinery that you're in. It's also your limbs, your fingers, your bones, and all that's on the line. So, you know, it's not something that you would want to risk, I think, you know, in real life. But there you go. It is what it is, and at the end of the day, it is a sim racing game, so it's simulated, and there will always be ways that the developers have failed to, well, not failed necessarily, but you know, maybe not accounted for every skill level that's out there in the game. And of course, the longer a game exists, the more of those skill levels do take effect. But it is kind of what it is. 2 cameras up at the moment. Leela Bell on your left, and a battle going on between McKellar and I believe that is Holmes on the right on camera 2 with 13 minutes and 50 seconds left on the clock. I'll do another quick housekeeping item here. You are, of course, watching the Octane Online Racing Simrigs Sprint Series. It's round 5 here at Paul Ricard on the second race of the evening with 13 minutes on the clock. We do have Split Red with 2 of their own races coming up shortly, and we'll talk about that towards the end of this race. But nonetheless, 5% off simrigs.com if you are an Octane Online Racing patron, so do consider giving us a like and a follow, and then maybe going and grabbing a subscription on Patreon as well. It does really help us out, and of course you do get a bunch of perks with that. So there we go. This race, nonetheless, will continue. The battle continues on your right, and Leela Bell continues in 3rd place now. Really impressive drive so far from Leela Bell. However, we do still have 9 people with a pit stop to do, and this is going to change up the order significantly.
Yeah, it's still interesting to see how the final of the pit stops play out, because clearly a lot of those people are, maybe, I won't say out of position, but obviously these positions still need to be sorted, so it'll be interesting to see where Pip comes out, or should I say, how far ahead. But everyone else, it's going to be an interesting race.
It's funny you say that, because the average pit stop that I've noticed is about 40 seconds, and adding up these gaps, I don't think she's going to be too far ahead of Mia Rose. Mia not putting in the greatest lap just then, losing about half a second to Pip on that last lap. Reynolds 2/10 quicker there, 54.5 compared to Pip's 54.7. So I think the gap's going to be about 3 seconds. So it's going to be interesting, because obviously those tyres are going to take a couple laps to get back up to temperature. So we'll see how that gap, we'll monitor that gap, and we'll see how late Pip does take her pit stop.
Yeah, things could close up very, very quickly. And of course, just to add into the mix, we do have a 17 km/h wind now moving north to west to suddenly south. That's because of the direction we are currently in on the car. So that, I believe, well, for a moment it was a rear wind on the Mistral Straight. The old arrow doing its fun things. Leela Bell coming in for her pit, so deciding she's gotten too close to Beg up ahead, needs to get that clean air if she's got a chance to get a really good position in this race. This will be a good comparison, actually, I think, everyone, to see where Leela Bell comes out relative to the likes of Mia Rose and Reynolds and that. Reynolds is now in P3 of those who've pitted behind Vediger, behind Mia. There's about 5 seconds between those three.
Oh, big burnout there as the air jacks go down.
One way to heat up your tires.
Yeah, I reckon she might just be behind Piper and Blair coming out of the pits.
There goes Mia, there goes Josh, who are Vediger.
There goes Piper. So just behind Piper there.
Oh. Yeah.
You know, it never gets old, but it never gets less scary.
No, it's, yeah, not a great exit. And Ferrari there, just taken off guard, I think, by Bell leaving the pit lane there, even though the spotter probably would have said something along those lines. It just goes wide into turn 1 and then a snap on the exit of turn 2, and Layla Bell goes through. We'll see if, I believe that's Blair behind, has a reply, because obviously he's going to have warm tyres. And Bell's just come out the pits, so hers are going to be a little bit colder.
Just jumping ahead to Split Red, sorry to cut in, it looks like they have a wet quali. So next one should be interesting as well for those sticking around.
And actually, that's a good point because of the timing delay that we have between race 1 and race 2. That does mean that there is a slight overlap between the splits today. So qualifying is underway, is that right?
There's been a message in chat. I'm sure their qualifying is soon, if not started already. So I'm sure we'll be able to catch on to the start of the race just as this one ends. But anyway, we'll focus on the racing that we have now as... Oh, Blair's gotten back ahead of Leela Bell.
Yeah, sorry, I distracted everyone. Blair did get the slipstream and has gone through, but went very, very wide. Used a speed token on the exit of Cygnus there just to solidify the move. And oh, Bell, that's a slide. And that's obviously as a result of the cold tyres she's got right now.
I love that terminology, a speed token. I'm definitely borrowing that one.
It's one I've heard before. It's nothing that I've come up with myself. In fact, I started referring to it as well. It's a good one. I mean, look, it's nothing that anyone should be condoning. You know, don't use. You're not supposed to get track cut warnings. You're not supposed to. But in some cases, especially when you're defending a position or attacking, sometimes that can be a tactical tool at our disposal.
It's also most of the time unintentional. It just sort of happens. As we see, Layla's really struggling here with the grip. That Porsche not loving the corners at the moment. Not known for its good tyre wear either. The rears do like to go off. I guess that's just part and parcel of being rear-engined. All that weight over the rear axle and just the way that it turns into corners. You do steer with the rear a lot in the Porsche, so the tyres don't last an awful long time, but definitely struggling there. Is Layla Bell.
Out of the pits comes Beg, and he was immediately overtaken. So that is a nice move there, a little undercut strategy from Leela Bell, and she has managed to find her way past Beg, so that's worked out nicely. Did the opposite, essentially, went in, and has now got the position. So Beg will fall down, I believe, to P12 at the moment. We've had a number more pit stops happen around the grid. Pip, Holmes, McDonald, Pethley-Bridge, and Lewis still yet to pit, but Mia is now up to P5. And is looking in range. Actually, no, I take that back because there's a +1 lap in there, so my timing sheets won't tell me the truth, unfortunately. I still think Pip's got it by quite a margin.
Yeah, like as these gaps, like there's less cars that I have to add up on the spot. The gap is looking like it'll be about 5 seconds, I reckon, when Pip comes out, assuming she does have a good pit stop and is putting in a minimum amount of fuel, which is a pit stop of 3.6 seconds, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I mean, there's no requirement to add fuel this time, so you could have run a bigger tank of fuel from the start of the race. That way, you highly avoid any kind of stoppage time except for the 3.2 seconds or so. But here's Mia. So Mia on board with her right now. I'm not quite sure what car she's got ahead. Might be.
I believe that's Pethley-Bridge. So for track position, however, Chad still needs to stop.
Yeah. And
Oh.
that's one way to let her
That's-
past.
Exit stage left.
Yep.
Okay. 300 commentators' curses for me, 1 for Austin.
Oh, my best mate too. He's one of my endurance racing boys, so that's fair.
I don't suppose he sent you out of the pits with 2 or 3 track warnings at some point. You need.
I mean, who hasn't, to be honest? Like...
Well, that's actually a fair point. Yeah. Yeah, if you haven't experienced that, you haven't been racing in endurance league at all. It is a point of contention and a lot of laughs, which we love. So here we're on board now with Bell. 6 minutes. Blair. We've got 6 minutes left on the clock, so things wrapping up. No midnight racing here, of course, but that sunset, I'm sure, was causing a number of drivers to be squinting and trying to find where their braking markers was. Blair getting awfully close now. I don't quite know who that is behind there. That might be Holmes. So sorry, that is Holmes in behind, trying to get ahead of Blair. This is the battle that we had on board, I think, a few laps ago. But Blair is going to be trying to hold on to that position from Leela Bell. So that does mean that Blair's actually had a pretty good run tonight. No, he hasn't. He's gone down 6 positions in this race. Leela Bell is the one who's had a really good one. 14 positions gained. Started P24 according to my timing sheets, but I think that's because she qualified in the top 10. Thank you, timing sheets. You're really helping me out today.
Yeah, it always gets a bit tricky with our custom setups for these races because ACC doesn't really know what's going on. But honestly, to be roughly around in their positions, it's a good day, and it looks like there's some good racing going on. Gonna have to be a little bit careful if you're Blair, because obviously if you get caught up fighting, the people behind are probably going to catch you. But then maybe you can use that to your advantage. Maybe get Leela Bell on the back of the car behind you and start making him defend and try and pull the gap. So a couple of minutes left, just 5, couple laps. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the stream can't see this, but I've got my timing sheets up here, and I've just been keeping my eye on Pip here. The last couple laps she's done have been invalid, so she's either pushing really hard or just struggling a little bit. Hopefully that hasn't equated to some track cuts here. She's currently about 47 seconds ahead of Mia Rose, and the pit stop is looking to be about 40 seconds. So I reckon that gap's opened up. So when Pip does go in, assuming all goes well, she'll be coming out about 9 seconds ahead of Mia Rose.
Speaking of, she's pulled in now.
All right.
So we'll keep an eye on Pip as she comes out of the pit lane. Looks like she may have a bit of a gap, but that's okay. There's plenty of other racing going on, but she's put in one hell of a drive time.
Yeah, 100%. Starting from P9 on the grid, I believe, to go up to P1. Definitely a couple incidents there. Allowed her to gain some real quick positions off the start, but apart from that, can't flaw her driving.
Couldn't agree more with that. My question here is, where is McDonald going to come out? Because he's currently in P1, has yet to pit. He's the only driver left on the grid that has yet to pit. Let's see what's happening here. So, yeah, Pip's still got a very clear margin. We'll have cold tyres and still running TC0. I've been monitoring that as well. So there is maybe some potential here for Mia to catch back up, but I think it's pretty set and done with 3 minutes left on the clock. It's basically just 2 laps left now. So Mia's going to have to pull something pretty amazing out to go and catch up to Pip, but yeah, got to take my hats off to both of them. And Mia, good drive back and is looking pretty solid for a P2. I'm still wondering where McDonald might come out, but I get the feeling it's going to be fairly far down, not top 3 at this stage, I don't think.
No, I believe he would come out between Rose and Vertigo. 28.
I feel like it might be a bit further down than that.
It might be, actually, yeah.
Yeah, maybe, I'm going to say maybe closer to Holmes and Bell, sort of maybe near the end of the top 10.
Yeah, I was looking at the wrong timings.
Yeah.
The old timing sheet problem. We know it well.
Yeah. So yeah, assuming his pit stop's about 40 seconds, yeah, he'll be coming out just behind Scanlon. He might just pit McKellar. There's not too much separating those two at the moment. But yeah, as you see, Reynolds, I believe, just overtook Vertigo for the effective P3. I'm not sure if that's... Yeah.
No, I think you're absolutely right. That is, in fact, a shift now for P3. Oh, Vertigo is fighting back, though, trying everything. I think Vertigo knows that that's a P3 finish that's just overtook him. And he's lost that P3. A little bit wide there for Reynolds. Doesn't cost him really anything at the moment, but I mean, we're back to the original conversation we had pre-race, GTR in the dry versus a Porsche in the dry. And, you know, I think we'll see this gap start to evolve a little bit on the straight and see the difference through the corner. The Porsche just seems to be a tidier car. But then, yeah, look at the Nissan. It just pulls away. There's McDonald into the pits, so that's the last pit stop at there. So Reynolds and Vettiger go through, and I think Piper will go through as well because, yeah, McDonald's only just stopped. McDonald, of course, recovering from an earlier incident with Horsberg, who did lead us away in race 1. And, whoa, Beck, avoiding action. Hard astern, please. Hard to port, and he does so at the last second. So that's McDonald out in P10.
Well, there you go. So he's got Scanlon just in behind. So about where I reckon they would. But yeah, he's pipped Scanlon here. Again, cold tyres. Going to take a lap or two to warm up. Well, I mean, we don't even have a lap or two to go. So he's just going to defend for, yeah, a little bit longer, about half a lap or thereabouts. Looks like they're coming onto the Mistral straight just now, as we can see on camera 1. So as long as he keeps this tidy for the last sector, he's got himself a P10, which is a fair effort.
Yeah, fair effort indeed. And we do see on the right-hand camera, camera 2, how the Porsche just catches back up. There's a speed token being used by Vettiger, doing everything because I think he knows that Philippa is just coming through the last few corners. Is that an inside move? This could be massive. So Reynolds is forced on the momentarily to the outside. Now it comes the inside. Can Vettiger do it around the outside? Late braking, or they're scraping paint. This is getting a bit spicy, but that's going to be advantage Reynolds again. Oh, that was close racing. Across the line, by the way, comes Pip. Well, I think we'll stay on board with this battle, though, because this is going to go right down to the wire. Pip does come across the line, P1. Mia will take P2, and the question is who will take P3. I think it will be Reynolds. Yes, it'll be Reynolds. So P3 Reynolds, your top 3 today, and then Vettiger, very honourable mention for him, and P4 overall in this race.
Yeah, and also Piper taking out the silver class win here. Stellar drive from him. Granted, he did start P2, thanks, of course, to the reverse grid. But he's done well to hold his position against some of these really quick drivers. So P5, he deserves a pat on the back for that.
Exactly right. So P6 is Blair. Comes home. He's 5th in the pro category tonight. Jay Holmes takes P2 in silver category. P7 overall. Leela Bell, P3 in this race for silver category. P8 overall. P9 goes to Grant Begg, who's done some very interesting work out there tonight, but an honourable drive, of course. And then P10, your top 10, will be rounded up by McDonald. So a number of those who started towards the front of the grid had an absolute disaster. The likes of Nipperes and Horsberg, who's just, had a bit of a shocker, unfortunately, has still got a 15-second penalty, as does Wood. Yeah, that is how things go in a reverse grid, unfortunately, and that is how your top 10 rounds out for race 2 with Split Blue.
And that rhymes. Yeah, definitely one to forget, unfortunately, for Horsberg. Definitely could have tussled nearish the top 10, I reckon, if he'd just been able to keep it clean. But yeah, obviously it doesn't always go your way, so I guess he'll come back better, bigger, better, stronger next week.
Overall, there was some pretty good racing there, as Paul Ricard always delivers. As we see with our finalists here, we've got Philippa Paquita P1, we got Mia Rose P2, and Ashley Vettiger P3 for your overall.
That'll be our, well, we've got a whole bunch of results, of course. We've got qualifying 2, race 2, and all that to go through. But yeah, I think that's a fairly successful day overall for Philippa Paquita. She has put on a good effort there. Reynolds coming home in P3. Overall points haul, and with the fastest lap points as well. So Pip has really taken it home today. Almost a perfect race weekend for her. In race 2, of course, Pip did go to the top. Mia Rose in 2nd, and then Ashley Reynolds in 3rd. Your winners in the other categories, silver was Piper, Pro-Am was Apreciado, and if we find out our AM result as well, it was Skies. So I think Skies actually had a really good result here today, winning, I think, both the AM category. Of course, Pat Oliver there, you can ignore that because Pat is silver class. So P2 technically for Through Stuck as we end things out. But good stuff from AP Blue. I do know we have heard that AP Red is through qualifying right now, or getting towards the end of it. So we'll probably have to make a rather quick shift here in the commentary box to allow our next set of commentators to come in. One of those finished P2 in the race you've just watched. That's Mia Rose and Neil Haynes and Brad Gosling. But before we hand over to the AP Red team, a big thanks to Benjamin Ignis for the broadcasting today. A big thanks to Austin McNeil and Breno Ellis as well. It's been a pleasure being in the commentary box for Split Blue, guys. Thank you very much.
Always a pleasure. Great racing, and looking forward to.
Yeah, awesome racing. It's great to commentate again. Catch the stream and you guys next week.
Split Red, take it away.
Now that Split Blue commentators have disappeared us,
Yeah.
we've got an exact repeat of Split Blue. We've got an actually wet track to start the race off for Red. At least they've got enough time to do their setup changes and set their tyre pressures properly. Not talking of experience, of course, but
Of course not.
and very typical scene, saying on pole, but there is an Audi of Alec Iruden on P2 with a Lightning McQueen livery. I love it. No eyes in the window, sadly, so it doesn't do well. P3 sweet. P4 is John Sonicus. I'm going to be able to read. P5 is Lucas Keys. P6 is... You don't have a livery, so I don't know. A. Drusman. P7, JP. P8, Sisselthwaite. P9, Shady Samuel. A bit far back for him. P10, Kong. P11, Bartlett. P12, Rochford. P13, Palmer in that amazing Porsche. Looks better than mine, to be honest. P14, Small. P15, Ison in a Merc this week. P16, sadly, who has been upgraded to Platinum, Mr. Luke Johnson. P17, another Audi with Walsh. P18, Carl Johnson. P19, Real. P20, Parkin. P21, Buskovitz. 22, Bushel. 23rd, Satria. 24th, Benedict. 25th, Vinny. 26th, Chalmers. 27th, Jensen. And 28th, Herbert. God, I'm good at this.
Yeah, welcome along tonight, Mia and Brad. It's good to have your company tonight for Split Red.
Absolutely, Neil. You too. And Mia, you can probably catch a breath after seeing or getting all those names out there just then. That was a great effort, being able to keep up with all those, especially as they start taking off on the track. So, yes, great to be with you both, Mia and Neil. And thank you, Ben, for keeping the visuals alive and cooking to all those watching live and in the future on YouTube as well.
Yeah, and I'll talk about YouTube. We've already got Brad Cook already excited because the two Johnsons are back again. So there you
Absolutely.
go. So one's up into the pro, and yeah, here we go. We should have a good race here tonight. Two races. I think it's a shorter 20-minute and then a 40-minute race on board here, Mia, tonight.
Yeah, so it's interesting in terms of the race links. To be honest, I think it's probably the way the super sprint format should be. But this first race is going to be interesting because a lot of these people probably wouldn't have done any wet laps, so they would have had to create a really quick wet setup in the 3-minute window between qualifying, or between knowing they were having wet conditions and going out on track. So there's a lot of deadly puddles out there, and it's going to catch a lot of these drivers out, especially on the first lap.
Yeah, it looks like Caruden and Sweet are going to get back into stiff competition like they had at Monza last week. I believe Caruden finished just in front of Corey at Monza, so here we'll see how the Audi will go with Caruden over the Ferrari.
And what I have noticed too is that it's a wet start. This won't be a wet race, so there will be a tyre change in this race, so it'll be an even more interesting race. But it could also be that some of these people have got dries on, and I doubt it. It's too wet to have dries on at the moment, so you could also have people setting their wet tyres up to go to distance, which if it doesn't dry up quickly, they could do it. So anyway, I'll let one of you two boys take the start.
No worries at all. Neil, unless you want to go for it, mate.
You fire away, Brad. I'll get the second one.
You grab round 2 as as they all line up, take positions over their boxes, and as the guys in the back are starting to gradually catch up and holding on to very loose 70 to 80 k's an hour right now, waiting for the lights to go green. Still ready at the moment, and there we go, green they are. And there was a very, very quick takeoff by Karuin there, I must say. But fortunately, Sang looks like obviously having that inside run has able to manage to keep his nose straight. And as we watch as a couple of people make it a little bit wide on these cold, wet tyres and not having any grip at all. This is going to be absolutely crazy coming through these first few corners coming up into the chicanes here. And as Keys has managed to keep his nose clean as well. Sorry, Sonicas. No, it is Keys actually. Sorry, my bad. And has managed to be able to get past Sonicas there. I reckon there might be something a little bit further back there, but at the moment, the biggest thing is traction, and very little of it as the guys are hustling and bustling, trying to not make too much side travel with each other as they're going wide there. Oh, Walsh taking it very wide there, and here we have the drag race up the back. Let's not worry about that because the Nissan will well and truly take that one out from Thistlethwaite there, as Keys again able to absolutely make the most of the legs with that with the Lexus there, as the guys are hustling for track position here, trying to, I don't know if they're really trying to worry about too much about a dry line at the moment, as you can see there is so much ice skating going on there. Oh, there we go. Walsh has just unfortunately been tapped there. It'd be interesting to go back and have a look through that one to see what's going on there, but that is honestly no real surprise there, considering the conditions here as wet as they are, and there has not been more action going on. Everyone has done very, very well to try and keep it clean and tidy, keep the cars straight, trying to get any little bit of any temperature into those tyres and the brakes as they can. It would be very hard to try and get any of that. Oh, we've got a couple going straight into the pits for lap 1. I reckon there might have been a couple that had slick tyres on, but that is absolutely crazy. Someone just got taken out. I don't know if any of you guys may have happened to see that in the background. Did you see anything?
It looked like it was Peach in the purple McLaren and Ison in the black and purple Mercedes that didn't know that the braking point's a bit early in the pits. We're going to replay here.
Yeah.
Thistlethwaite. Bit of 3 wide action, didn't end out properly, but going 3 wide there in the wet's a bit tough. And there's even more contact here. We've got Jusman and Bukovic, sorry. They still keep going though, a little bit of a tap, but yeah, that first lap was chaos. It was a pretty big, there's one around there. Is that Bartlett that's around on the infield? No, it wouldn't be, it's Small. Small's around on the infield. No, it's Small in this 148 round.
Yeah, the 148 there, yes.
That was a chaotic first lap. You probably didn't see it, Brad, but they were piling it up in turn 3. But looks like it wasn't big enough for a safety car, and they kept going, and they somehow survived without a safety car. But now there's no. Oh, Bukovic is gonna save it.
I think he saved, so long as he. Oh, he hasn't. Oh, and how he hasn't taken out Parkin there in the meantime while he had the rejoin. Oh, man, that was sweat and pellets there.
And here's the replay of the pit, and yeah.
Oh, just.
Ison there didn't know that you had to brake early there for the pit stall. He's probably broke a bit too early, but that's going to be a big penalty no matter what there for Ison.
Yeah.
But
yeah, the steward will frown upon that one, I think, there, boys.
Yeah, I think so, Neil.
The only good thing about this, though, is that we've had no safety car, so they've at least got rhythm going now, but there is no rain, so I got a feeling this track won't dry out in time. So if people have committed to a wet tyre that'll work in the dry, I think it's going to not help them at the moment.
Yeah, well, the big mover is actually Lucas Keys. I think he started in 5th or 6th, up into 3rd position too, and not too far away, holding his own there in the silver class, and doing a great job in that Lexus. Obviously, the outright speed, but
That
we
was
saw that a bit earlier there. The
yeah,
little
that was
bump
that
there.
briefly. Yep, trying to push his way through the corner there.
One thing, fellas, around here at Paul Ricard, there's a lot of runoff, isn't there? There's a lot of hard surface, so.
And Kong there taking the quick way back to the pits too. That'll cost him with the instant back to the pits. They obviously had some major issues there, not being able to actually drive the car back. So interesting to see kind of what pulled up with him too.
I wonder if he accidentally didn't put fuel in the car for the race because.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a bit. We'll see what happens here. It comes out the corner, throttle on, and oh no, it has a game lag. Okay, I had the exact same thing in qualifying, first qualifying. The game just froze, but
yeah,
it
right.
wasn't. Yeah, so that's the second person taken out by a game freeze, but it could also be a computer, something along those lines. But at least it's not a fuel issue, which is good.
Yeah.
Now we've seen the split blue too. We've seen the Nissans fairly strong there, so it's a good sign maybe for Cameron, who's just gone into the pits, the leading Nissan. As this away dropping down the order as he's getting his mandatory stop done. I believe it's just for fuel. Is that correct there, fellas?
Yep, it would be just for fuel. Minimum 1 litre of fuel for the stops.
Yep, in both the races, obviously.
So I'd be saying that they would be getting some slicks on now. You can see there's a bit of that dry and white line, but there's a bit of spray there. You'd have to be brave. I guess you'd have to brave it out there for the next 3 or 4 minutes on the slicks, but it looks a bit too wet there.
There's a case in point there for you, Neil, mate. He's still a bit wet. I think if you can manage to just hold the dry line, I think you'd be all right. But if you're half a tyre width outside, I think that's exactly what you'll be looking at.
Yeah, there's a bit of standing water there. You could see as we're riding on board there. So maybe the wets and then following and trying to keep those tyres in the wet area down the straights to keep them cool is probably the go, as we've got just over 12.5 minutes remaining. Track is damp. Fairly warm outside too, so you'd think that it might dry up fairly quickly too if it does have no more rain, which it doesn't look like there's going to be any more rain in this race.
Well, you say it dries up quickly. I've seen it before where it doesn't dry up quickly at all. Monza was sort of the same thing where it didn't dry up that quick. So I do wonder if it's going to, because it's damp at the moment, I don't know if it'll stay completely it's some sort of damp condition. But you can see here we've got the little group there for P7 and now a battle going on for second here. Sweet with the quickest lap so far is trying to chase down Sang. Now this will be an even fight because of the fact that both of these cars can hit around about the same top speed down the back straight. It's just going to be about the run onto the straight where you're going to get the most out of it.
Yeah, and with the we all know the power that the BMWs have. They definitely do not have short legs when it comes to straights. So if we get a good run in the Ferrari there, and he can manage to keep in the tow, I reckon he'll be able to keep up. Whether or not he'll be able to kind of catch and get past will be half another different story. And as you can see, they're definitely looking for a bit of that wet ground, as the cars are still very squirmy, but obviously trying to keep the temperatures in the tyres down there. And now, is it a defensive move or is it just trying to hold off? Oh, is it going to be a little under and over here? Is now that Sang's got the outside line? No, he's managed to obviously hold on to that onto the dry air line there and just have a lot better braking performance with the tyres on that drier surface, so managing to be able to hold on to that position there. And Sweet is definitely going to make him work for it. definitely going to make him work for it.
Yeah, it was.
Already does look like he's comfortable, doesn't he? This in these conditions at the moment.
It's probably a better suited car, the BMW, compared to the Ferrari. It also could be that. I say that Sweet's got the quickest lap so far, and as we say that, Sweet goes for the pit lane, same as Kyrune, so they're both going to try and get out of a battle here, try and jump him in the pit stop, which is probably the best strategy these two can do at the moment.
So will they go the change tyres or just the fuel guys? You'd probably lose too much time putting the tyres on.
You have to risk not changing at all, keeping on the wets, because it's the only thing you can do at the moment, because you committed yourself to the wets at this point.
Yeah, and especially with just a 20-minute sprint race, you'd never be able to make up the extra 30 seconds or the 27 seconds extra with changing your tyres off on that just on a 20-minute lap. Oh, and he's gone super deep under brakes there. Bartlett has just got so excited, not quite sure who's that they're going past. Is there a bit of an issue?
Chalmers. Yeah, it looks like Chalmers. He must be a blue flag there.
Yeah.
Caught Bartlett by surprise now. This has put Rochefort here into the battle. Oh, it's Vinny. Okay, so it wasn't Chalmers, it was Vinny. Same looking BMWs there.
Yes. I was hoping that you might have been able to pick that one up, mate. I didn't quite pick up the difference there. And you can definitely see the sun is coming out. You got the shadows. Whoa! Missing the braking marker there is Rocheford's just not quite. I don't know. I wouldn't say he's not paying attention, because I guarantee he's paying attention, but just not quite in the right position there as he runs super wide, coming into that big sweeper that really puts Satria on his tail, really close now, making him very vulnerable. And this will, going from the hunter to now being the hunted in behind there, as Satri is making up the a few little tents here and there as well to try and get in on this battle there for the mid-lower top 10. As we got, is that Bartlett just pulling in there too?
Yeah, that'd be Bartlett into the pits. No one else will take the pits this lap, so no other pit takers there this lap. So I would say, I'm gonna say probably the top 4, top 5 are gonna do their pit in the second last or onto the last lap. Clear it as late as you can, and the track is just gone greasy, so this is going to be where the tyres are going to be overheating. But the only good thing is that they've only got 7 minutes left, so probably about 5 laps remaining in this race, maybe 6, or probably, I'd say 5 or 6 laps. So they've got to keep these tyres in check, keep them as cool as they can, because if you overheat them more and more, and the other person behind you doesn't, well then you're going to be up for a nice little passing manoeuvre.
Yeah, you can see him chasing down the right-hand side, down the Mistral Straight now, just trying to stay in that wet area of the track, trying to keep those tyres cool, as you said, Mia.
Yep, and you can really see that on that camera too. That dry line for the main racing line is definitely drying up rapidly.
Yeah, been a lot of hurt, I think, here, Brad. But as you said, they've just got to hold on. Mia was saying that too. It's the next 6.5 minutes. Everyone's going to be in the same boat, we think. We don't think anyone actually started on the slick. So yeah, it's just about driving smart, I think, with over-pressurised tyres, I think.
Yeah, it would be surprising here if someone has under-pressured their tyres for the start to put them into some sort of a window for now. But at the moment, the race for the lead is Sweet. He's trying to catch down as much time gap as he can to Sang, but the thing is it'll depend on the traffic he hits and all of that. But now we've got Satria and Bukovic into the pits. Now let's just hope here for Sweet. Okay, so we've just been told, and I can see it now, Sweet is on dries. So I wonder if he started on... He wouldn't have started on dries, it was too wet for dries. But the thing is, 30-second time loss, I don't know if it was worth it. He would have had about 8 minutes, about probably 6 laps. 5 or 6 laps. Yeah,
Oh.
I doubt that for Sweet. I don't know if he'll win this race, but Sang is in the pits. Sang is in with Satria and Vukovic, so I wonder what Sang will do. If I was saying, yep, he's already out. If I was about to say, if I was saying I wouldn't take tyres, I'll just risk the wets, and that's what he's done. Satria will go to dries though, he's still in the pits. Vukovic will stay out on wets. And this is now becoming a race of save the tyres if you're on wets. No, he's on dries! But where's Sweet? He's in... Where is Sweet? Where is he? I think he's in front. He's in front. Sweet's in front of him.
Yeah, because it would have been those laps that he was probably on those slicks, putting out those quicker times as well. So that's probably why he's leapfrogged Sang at the moment. Currently up into position 6 as well, so he's doing really strong. So let's see if he can catch the guys in front who we do believe will be on the wets still. So it's going to be an interesting run to the flag.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what their times. Who do we know is the top that didn't? Well, I suppose it would be Sonicus, whoever has still been on the wets there as well.
Yeah,
be interesting to see what his times are there now, comparing to the likes of Sweet, who we know has gone onto that dry tyre.
Well, he's just at the bottom end of the circuit now at the hairpin area before, after making his way onto the Mistral straight. The car 555 of Sonicus. As we're looking at keys in this Lexus.
And Sweet still, he's back up to P3. So even though he took on the tyres and the extra time for that, he's well and truly making up for that in his track speed.
Yeah, it quite honestly, the dries weren't the right call because Sweet is ahead of Sang, but Sonicus has the lead.
Yeah.
By staying on the wets.
But has he done his stop? I don't know if he has. No, he hasn't. I believe not. So yeah, quite honestly, it would have been that. I would have honestly not taken the dries. I would have risked it because you're wasting about, for about what, 27 seconds. So, and with how late you'd be pitting, or how the track got dry, it wouldn't have been worth it. Yeah, so Sonicus hasn't pitted. Same with Jusman in front. So Sweet has got the lead. Keys is 3.4 behind, and Kai Rudin is now in the chance for a second place finish. But I say that Sonicus is on the dries too. He hasn't pitted, so I think people have boggled my mind here because I wouldn't have said it was dry enough for dries at the start of the race.
No, and it's already at a green track now too.
So you're saying John Sonicus might have started on the slicks, is that right, Mia, by the looks of things, if he's already on the slicks
so he hasn't done his stop, but he still had dries, so
he's in there now.
Where's Sweet? He's not going to win this because Sweet's going to pass him here. Actually, how far down pit road is? About 2/3 of the way down.
And he just goes for, he's right near the front. Oh, there he goes, as you see him in camera too.
So Keys would be there. Yep. So he probably won't get a podium off that. Actually, no.
Wow.
This is racking my brain right now.
This is crazy. And Sang's in P8. Just coming through all the over the lines there. So that's crazy.
No, Sang would have. Yeah, Sang must have started on wet, so everyone else behind him would have been on dries. That would explain it because that's how he's lost so much time. Wow, that's. I doubt. We need to have a look back at who started on dries and who started on wets.
Yeah.
There's no way Sweet would have been on the same pace as Sang on a pair of dries in that wet condition.
That's
Like,
crazy.
Iruden's on wet, so yeah, he must have started on dries. This is, oh my god. If both races in split blue didn't make me crazy, this is making me more crazy.
They need little symbols, don't they, in the game? You bring out if they're on slicks or wets.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that usually the only way you can tell is the sidewall. So a wet tire doesn't have any yellow markings that it like visible markings like from afar back, but the dry tires do. So you can probably only see it around at like a slower speed. But at the moment, we're on the last lap. Yeah, you can't see it at fast speed. When they get a bit more slow is when you can see it. But Sweet will come home here to finish in first place. Kai Ruden's trying to get past Keys. I don't think he will though, so the Lexus is going to somehow finish P2. The Lightning McQueen Audi will finish third. John Sonic is fourth. Thistlethwaite will finish fifth in that Nissan. And then we'll have Shady Samuel behind. Maybe not. Sang's right there. He won't get it.
So close.
So that's a good result for Corey Sweet as well. He'll probably move up second into the championship as JP's not actually here, I don't think, tonight either. So
no, he was here. He decided to. He must have got a lot of damage from that pit lane incident. So this will count for his drop round anyway. So got to remember we've got a drop round in effect for this season.
Drop round. Yes. So either so, Corey taking the victory. That's a great job for himself.
Yep, sure is. And we've got the last couple of guys just coming around the back straight now. 118.
I think Lucas Keys will be happy with that podium too in position 3. He's worked hard all season with a car that's been fairly unstable for him. He looked like he had the car under him there for race 1.
Well, this is probably the only track for Keys where he's able to really contend for a podium, because that thing is, it's got a booster stuck onto it at the moment. It's straight, so you're able to pull about half a second to the car behind you, and then that's it, and then hold them off for the rest of the circuit. So
yeah,
we can see Vinny will come across with the last finisher, and we've got another wet session. This time it is second qualifying, so 10 minutes. Everyone bar the top 10 from the first race go out there, so give them a minute. They'll probably do their setups again, and then they'll go out.
So from position 1 to 10, it's is it reversed, or they just start at the back from position 1? Like, how does this one work, guys, for the qualifying? We've got the 11 downwards out for the qualifying.
Yep. So 11. So whoever finished 11th on down will go out for qualifying. So that will include our sadly in last place finisher who didn't finish the race, will be Peach. So up to P11, I forget now. So basically, they'll go out there, 10-minute qualifying, so 2 minutes shorter, a little bit of a quicker qualifying session. And then once we get into the second race, the top 10 get reversed. They all file out with everyone else in order. So this is basically the battle for P11, but you still get pole points. So for someone like JP, he could probably recover some points here if he gets it on pole.
Yeah, gotcha.
So probably be a good competition between both them and maybe Luke Johnson, maybe. As looks like JP just getting sideways there early, just in camera 2.
Oh, yep, and the very sideways. Tyres. Oh, yep, and he's going the full roller coaster ride there in the Castrol McLaren. Definitely do not have warm tyres yet. And there is definitely no racing line either. As you can really see that rain coming down there as well. It does not look like it's even going to remotely get dry. Definitely not any time in the next 8 minutes while we have the qualifying anyways. If it was race pace, race time, like, they're all just going super wide.
This looks even more wetter than the start of the race. This looks like this is proper, nearly flooded track. conditions here, so
It looks it, yeah.
I think the top 10 guys from race 1 are fairly happy not to have to go out in these conditions too.
but looking at that weather radar, it's light rain, but then it'll clear up. But the thing is that this track will not dry out in probably like 5 minutes, so
No. And especially not with only half the field going out too.
Yeah, that's a good point as well, Brad.
Oh, they are all struggling for any form of traction there at the moment. Well and truly, we're getting their money's worth in the left and right of their steering wheels. They're finally getting a few guys making some, getting some bit of a clear run. There's still, wow, that is some serious moisture on that track there. This is definitely skill levels up to 11 to try and get any form of turn in and then any form of power down is almost that was very close to almost the track limit there for Johnson, coming right out wide. As you can see, as he's still struggling as he's trying to get the power down, but then as soon as you try and get the power down, then you lose all your front end just because it is so wet. And definitely no TC0 like Bakita was playing around with in the first race. Mia, you probably didn't hear that one, but Meg was trying to dare Bakita to run the second half of the last race with TC0 on, and definitely think it would be a big fat no in these conditions here now.
well, to be honest, I think if you're a rain whisperer, a whisperer of the wet tyres and the whisperer of the wet track, you'd probably try a bit of a less TC, but at the moment even I wouldn't be daring to lower that TC because it looks absolutely moist on this track, and probably have our first indicative times here of how wet this track is. On board here with Luke Johnson, it is what I would call a struggle street to get any type of grip out of this car. Comes to the last corner now. Very good turn in, yep, gets it in, so he's probably getting used to these wetter conditions now. Spins the tyres up off the curb. Best line you can take is the line. You'll go 2050 P3. But I wonder who's pole. It'll be Peach.
Yep, Peach.
Yeah, JP out there at the moment.
They're going very wide.
Too in the Twitch stream. Saying, oh my god, the real Mia Rose. So there you go, you got to follow her there with Pat the Melon. Mia. Coming in with a party of 7 as well, so plenty of people joining the Melon.
No, don't worry, I have many followers. I think tonight they wouldn't have loved to see what happened to me. But anyway, back to this. We're on board now with our current pole sitter, Mr. JP Sonicus here. He's up a lot, I would say. Looks like that 4.5 tenths on a 2:04.3. So I don't think they're even going to crack under 2 minutes here. This is how wet this track is. Actually, it's probably around about how wet it was for our first race. So it's not the wettest condition we've seen tonight. Very early break. Doesn't go for fourth, though he does at the apex though. Still gained a lot more time. He must have had a moment there on the exit. He's gained about half a second in a mere 50 metres. He's going to gain even more. He's going to go wide. Keep it in. He does too. Loses a bit of time. About 2 tenths on the delta there. So he is pushing. He's probably driving mad like I was in this qualifying session for AP Blue. He's still on it though. He's still a second up. Oh, he's got that puddle there too. He broke on the puddle there. And he's going to lose a bit more time, another tenth, but he gains it back to the last corner. Up to a second to the line. He's going to gain a bit more time. No. Doesn't matter though. He's going to cement his place on pole. 2:03.3. And he's cleared the field by over a second over LOR driver, or maybe not Luke Johnson to the top, 2:03.1.
Wow.
Even he's done a better lap, but they're both clear of the field by over a second and a half. If people say the McLaren isn't that great here, I doubt it, because it's an absolute monster. especially if you've got wet conditions and if you're driving it absolutely angrily like these two would be right now.
Yeah, it looked like JP was getting quite a little bit of time there. The car seemed to really good through the slower part of the corners as well. The medium to high speed, he was a little bit sketchy, but it could just be obviously the conditions that he's facing here, as we know that he was pushing pretty hard. As Satria calls it a night.
Looks
in
like
qualifying.
Satria had a bit of a gear shifter issue because he pulled off in fifth gear, so he probably... I hope that's not too terminal there for him, but he puts at P3, 6/10 off Luke Johnson's pole time at the moment, so... And speaking of blue water, we've got a Luke Bentley here, probably near enough to blend into the track scenery there with the blue stripes on the outside of it, but at the moment he's not doing that well. He's got no valid lap. His best is a 2:07. So he's trying everything to get this car around for a valid lap at the moment. And actually it's not even it's supposed to be a blue car, but not the correct livery file on the car, so at least he's got the Pirelli logos on there, so the livery regulations will be happy with that. So we've got a minute left in qualifying at the moment. We've got a Nissan of M Real to the top. Peach has actually dethroned Luke for pole. And as I say that, Luke goes P2 only by 1/10 off JP. Walsh then goes P2, 0.5 off JP. Wow, this could be a really good fight here for pole. We've got Ethan Small here coming around to the last corner. We'll see if he can improve on his P9. Satria goes, Ison goes P7 there. The line Small stays there. Did improve but not valid. So that probably would have put him about P9 if he was like, but here's Peach, he is on another flyer. This will be his last one of the session. Over 3/10 up already onto the back straight. He's going to gain even more time straight here. Nearly hitting 0.5 up. You can see the rev counter there. It's hitting puddles each and every time on the straight. Into scenes we go. Light brake, really hard on the brakes. Probably a bit too quick through there. Keeps it on. Now into the long right hander. Probably the difficultest corner on the tyres.
Yeah,
At least keeps it in.
Than last time when we were on boarding.
It is already 7/10 up, so this track is drying up quickly. And we've got on board here of, looks like, I can't really get a clue on who that one is in the secondary screen. Okay, it is his teammate, Carl Johnson, but back to JP, coming around to the last corner. He's 9/10 up on his pole time. He's still going to gain a bit more. It's going to be a 2:01, I would say 2:01.4 here to the line. Bingo, 2:01.43 goes pole by a massive margin.
Isn't that? Still all about a second out between the gap between him and Walsh there. And how tight was the gap? 2, 3, 4 and 5. They were all within, it looked like a couple of thousandths. There was definitely not much in it. Oh, as Carl Johnson's a little bit wide on that one there. Manages to hold it though.
Yeah, it looks like he's off his time here, so he's probably just getting a little bit
Yeah.
more
I would say that Delta is lying a bit, just because he hasn't set a bad lap, because he was coming to the last corner.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Actually, no, it might. No, the Delta might be correct here. He's going to come to the line. Oh, no, it won't be. P8. All right, so he wasn't way off his time, but he still gets a top 10 or top 10 starting position, but it will be P18 once we get everyone reversed. So there we go. JP Sonicus gets pole from qualifying 2 with Walsh, Luke Johnson, Bushell, and Ison finishing out the top 5. Now those people will start 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th in this race. as we'll have another look here at this grid. I won't give you a full rundown of this one because it will be a bit different, because we've got to have the top 10 from the first race move up to the front of the field just to line everyone up for the top 10 reverse, and then they all start rolling. So it'll be about a minute or two after they all start rolling here until everyone is on their formation lap. But very, very colourful grid. Not really many bright front ends here. A lot of the rear of their cars are bright, but you know, not much pink. I don't see much pink on this field. Needs to be a bit more pink, I think.
Well, we went past one with the wheels that were fairly bright as well, as we always love as well. But
yeah, that's
of a
not enough
Lamborghini.
purple on that. If you say that's what I want, no, it's not enough purple on that car. It needs to be the main colour.
It did look very angry teeth though on the front of that Lamborghini.
It looks very weird with that teeth in the front of it, but
It's almost like not the what's a venom teeth on the front of it.
not as aggressive as Venom teeth. I'd probably say more.
Almost.
It's trying to more look like Rexy, but you know.
Yeah.
This is just bad for me from Keys, you know. It can't. If you're driving the Lexus, you've got to roll up with a good livery. You can't just roll up in black and thinking you're going to be cool. So pick your game up, Keys. But the track is wet. It will be raining in 30 minutes, so it's a risk here. It's going to be completely different here. Do you start on the wets? Well, actually, no. You've got to start on the. You've got to start. Well, actually, sorry. Do you start on the dries?
Yeah.
But
I think you want the dries. Would it be right or not?
I reckon. Oh,
Our director is saying no.
Ben's saying no.
But we saw what happened in the first race. It could happen again. We could have people starting on dries here and absolutely fling it off the first corner. So.
Because we can see how sometimes that weather can change as well. I know 30 minutes is saying there's rain, but we've had it in the past where that can just disappear as well. So maybe they just tough it out with the slicks. As we know, it's going to dry out probably in the first 6 or 7 minutes, at least a drying line anyway. But we did see some action there in the first race, didn't we, guys? With a slippery track with some of the drivers we think may have been on those slicks, but we're getting that order, as you were saying, done nice and early, Mia.
Yeah, so I don't think this track is going to dry as quickly as what it did in the first race, just because we've got a 5-degree cooler ambient compared to the first race. So, there's a couple of these guys aren't listening to race directive orders here. They're doing whatever they want.
They're all a little bit too keen, as Niz Monoth has said, God, wish he could have the console version had custom liveries as well. He's loving the PC custom liveries we've got out here on track for the Sprint Red. Brought to you by Simrigs.
I did still see one of the Lamborghinis donning the fluoro green and purple and pink there. I'm not quite sure.
Would be Bandage, I think.
Bandage?
The 7.3, I'm pretty sure. The spandex car.
That's the one. It's about as colourful, I think, as you'll get on this round, Mia.
Seems like the most colourful thing I'll get for this entirety of red. You know, it's got to be brighter colours out here. So, as you can see, we're now rolling down the back straight. So the track condition isn't wet. It will be interesting to see who starts on dries. Directive we make, and we switch over to the basic HUD and flick through the top 10. See who's starting and what, because I don't want to break my head again like we did at the first race. So we've got dry tyre first, Violet on the wet, Rochford on the dry. This is going to be interesting. Sang, what is he on? Wet, alright. Run down to the top 10. Samuel on wet. Sizzle's Wait probably going to be on the wet too. He is too. John on the dries. Kai Rudin on the dries. Keys on the dries. Yes. And then Sweet probably going to be on the dries too. Yep. What about Peach? Has he risked it? He has too. So it's a mixed strategy here. exactly the same thing as the first race. So it'll be interesting to see if, because the thing is, the dries will work for the middle part of this race, but we will have rain for the for the last 10 minutes. So it's going to be quite interesting if people they're trying to sort themselves out, but they're sorting themselves out. Okay, all right. Neil, you want to take over this start?
Yeah, definitely. Is obviously got. I think it's Sang there in 4th position, right behind Bartlett. Have themselves on the outside, but it's going to be Buskovas in the Ferrari that's going to take the green flag here. And it's going to be a very tricky start. Opening part of this race, 40 minutes with that mandatory stop for fuel.
Green light. Go, go, go.
And let's go. And it looks like Sang's trying to come out just to cover the inside line. It's Buskovas at the moment. And Sang late on the brakes, but gets it through as Buskovas goes wide. Everyone else filtering through as Sang has been able to have a great start. Oh, and up the background there, I think it is a McLaren, the Castrol McLaren, having a lot of problems once again out of turn 2 there as he gets going as Luke Johnson. So that's no good after his pretty good qualifying run that he had. Oh, and it looks like Keys maybe getting a little bit loose on those slick tyres we did see at the start. So obviously
I think we've gone on a safe. Yeah, we've gone on a safety car. Sorry about that. I had a feeling they were going a bit slow here.
Oh, well, that'll help some of these guys on slicks. Obviously, give that little bit of extra time to hopefully have this track to start getting a drying line coming in. But the forecast isn't looking very friendly for him. But here we go on this replay. You can see here the McLaren right behind Luke Johnson. Not too sure what happens here. Gets up on the curb. Oh, I think he may have just got a tag, unfortunately.
Bang! Oh, and then he.
So again, it's just that whole 3 going into 1 really doesn't work, does it? But yeah, she was fairly crowded. So John actually up into 6th position at the moment, or 7th, depending on how you look at it.
Well, he is P6, so I wonder what happens there. How he scanned the position must have been what overtook him under safety car. But it was the interesting part was that and that probably would have been under safety car, but at least he kept it going. So no harm, no foul. But I wonder, because we did have a first lap incident in the first race, I wonder if that was smaller than that, because that was a bit, it was on the borderline of a safety car in my opinion, but I wonder what the first lap in race 1 looked like, because that could have been a safety car more than this one. But it's going to be worse if you're a slick runner, because the tyres are cooling off. They're cooling off, they're losing pressure more and more when you're running slow. At the moment, and it's not giving the track enough. You're not running cars at speed to dry the track up quickly. So at the moment, you would hate the safety car. Yeah, exactly. So, but the good thing is that Sang will start on P1, so he's going to have control of the field, and then Shady Samuel 2nd, Bukovas 3rd, and they're all slowing down here. They're all bunching up again. This is. They know they've got to do 80, right? Unless they've been told to slow down further, which I doubt it.
It'll be interesting to see how Cameron goes in 5th position in this Nissan. See how he gets that power down. He's looking very racy this evening in the Nissans after seeing what happened in Split Blue. The Nissan's doing a good job.
Sang's weaving. What's going on here?
Maybe.
Oh, that's going to be a penalty.
And we've got a couple of guys coming into the pits early now, so they're probably going maybe onto the slicks, and that'll probably have them up into temperature, maybe?
No, well, I would be surprised if those people are on dries looking for a bit of a clear track, but I wonder if Sang was doing 80 there, because if he was doing lower than 80, that's going to be a penalty, because you're supposed to keep 80 and then speed up. So we're going to get through here, turn 1 and 2 pretty safely. But
Yeah, I'm not too sure about the weaving as well. That's something there that might have to be just to be careful with right at the start there. But anyway, we'll let the stewards have a look at that as Alex Walsh, Team Alex, in position 9 in the Audi.
Oh, getting a bit loose there. Oh, and the Ferrari's just struggling a lot more than what they would probably want to be. Here we have the drag race down the back straight between Walsh and Ison. Obviously Walsh having the inside line, but not probably quite the pace. Is one wonder whether or not one will yield, considering these conditions are still very wet and the cars are very cold. Who's gonna let it go? Oh, around the outside.
That's very good done by Ison.
Oh, I think Walsh probably gave him a little bit of racing room too there. I reckon he's probably just come off the gas a little bit earlier, and now unfortunately he's been kind of a bit of a gentleman there, but now he's struggling. And oh, look at that! Benedict's just popped up another couple of spots there in the Ferrari as well.
Yeah, you got to remember too, some of these guys will be on slicks, as we know. Others might be on the wet. So,
yeah,
one of the Lambos, I think, just getting a little bit wrong.
That was Rodford there wide.
Maybe one of these, couple of these guys on the slicks, finding it hard, as you said. Mia, after that safety car period, their tyres would have been a lot colder, not quite up to any sort of pressure as well. So they'll be struggling for the next 2 or 3 laps for sure.
Now we've got a train behind Keys here for P4. We've got the 2 Sonicus, we've got Bukovic, we've got Ison, Carl Johnson, Walsh, Vinny, Benich, and I think Rochford is in the back of that queue as well. So this is basically nearly a 10-car queue for P4.
Yeah, we've got to remember, if we were right with the graphics that we had.
Oh, saw that one.
Johnson, I think.
Walsh into Carl, and then Carl into Ison there. That was a chain reaction.
Yep.
And I think, and we've got one car around there on the inside. That's Bartlett, I'd say. It is too. Bartlett's gone around. Oh.
I wonder if he's gone around on his own. Like, he was very close to Samuel there. Oh,
no, I think I would say Bartlett's gone around himself. Probably got the inside curve, but here's the restart. And yeah, this is too slow.
Can we see?
No, you're supposed to hit 80. You're supposed to keep 80.
Yeah, and they're doing 55, 57, 58.
I would quite honestly say that would be an asterisk over his head. I would honestly say a 5-second penalty for
at least
in proper safety car restart. That's a bit. Yeah,
yep.
Gonna be something there, maybe, guys. Even in the chat here, you know, they've got a few of the viewers actually saying there that they are thinking that Sang may have been under that 80 kilometres an hour. So yeah, that graphic there, that replay did show that.
And so, here's the chain reaction here into turn 6. Ooh. Yeah, just what you didn't see there was Walsh sort of tapped lightly Carl, and then that momentum just went straight into Ison's rear bumper, sadly.
Yeah, and Ison was that man that did that great move around the outside the previous lap as well, around Sings as well, turn 5. But here we go, we've got that Spandex Lambo coming in for his compulsory stop for some fuel. Have to take on at least only 1 litre, so most of the guys probably will be fueled up for the 40-minute run, or just the little bump that actually caused Johnson just to then hit Ison in front. So I think Johnson was was in some party there.
Yeah, he really was. He was sort of the meat and the sandwich, and you know. But I know we do have 2 penalties given out. So Luke's got a 15-second for something, and here's Bartlett. Yeah.
Oh.
Just a bit too much wet white line there on the exit. And then around he goes, and Walsh all over the place, over the puddles. This is going to open the door up for Johnson and Real.
Oh, they're going to go 3-1. And the GTR will just take this one away. Look
Hey,
at
what?
him going around the outside. Reel. Reel all of those in.
He's going to
By-
clear both of them
by
and
4
then
cars.
gain 2 car lengths.
He's pulling away, so he's just loving this here at the moment, Mike. He's got to lap it up at the moment, but Johnson's coming back at him now, down the inside. Taking a tighter line here, Carl.
Yeah. Which I think you'd be very much struggling with the conditions the way they are, to try and keep that tight line. I think you just, I don't know how
Can't
you
get
would be
much
able
closer,
to.
can you, on a Thursday night? The back of a
That's-
Nissan.
That is.
Got the bubble there. Same thing of
They
Real.
both are. They both have. Both going full Tokyo drift session there. Oh, he's got the under and over. He's going to have enough power down to be able to get past him. I don't think he will. Not. I don't know anyone who's able to out drag the GTRs. I think he's going to be able to hold on there. But coming through those last couple of corners there, wasn't that showing how wet that is? And talk about wet. Look up at the forecast coming, and it was cloudy, bit of rain, and then a lot of rain.
Yeah,
Here's
so
the
things
replay
are only
here.
going to get worse by the looks of things. And look at this save
Both of them.
by Mike.
So I would say the car got loose on the puddle. There's a massive puddle that goes across the track there on your braking zone, and I think Real probably got the curb under brakes and just lost the rear of it. So they both had their own moments and nearly collected each other as well. But now Real has pulled ahead of Johnson here in the hunt to go first in P7. But there's still a trade of cars here. These cars have not separated from themselves yet. And all because of Lucas Keys about 3 laps ago.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Lucas was actually one of those drivers that were on the slicks at the start. We think Sang was obviously on the wets. And he's doing a good job out in front at the moment as we're looking at Mark Bushel, trying to see if he can get a cheeky one down the inside. It looks like he's going to do it as the cars are running very wide out of turn 5. You're going to run wide. I'll tell you what, this is a circuit where you want to do it though. You're pretty safe. There's as we said, a lot of hard surfaces around here at Paul Ricard.
That's it. Just looking at the gap that Sang and Samuel have got out over Keys there too. It was 16 seconds Samuel to Keys, and then 4 seconds Sang to Samuel. So that's well and truly out to almost 20 seconds from first to third. These guys,
doesn't it?
That's
were the option.
That's it. That's showing these wet weather tyres, at least at the moment, are well and truly the option to go. It's the risk at the start. Do you risk the first kind of 20 minutes of the race and or not? It's well and truly paying off for those two guys, as everyone else is still struggling.
That was.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I'm just going to say, I'm pretty impressed by Chalmers just behind Rochford. He's having a great drive in the number 78, I think it is, BMW.
Yep.
Probably
Sorry,
those wet tyres. Probably those wet tyres. I was about to say, in the first race, that risk was sort of needed because there was going to be, no more rain and it was going to really hot track, so it would dry up quickly. But you've got a low track temp, you've got, predicted rain at the end of the race, and it was already wet. You had to take the wet, so you couldn't risk a dry set. And, you can see the track is only get damp, it's not going down the greasy, there is still standing water here. So, for all those dry runners, they'd be hoping for some miracle that the Kunos gods come out, shine, put some sunlight on this track, but I doubt that's going to happen anytime soon.
Definitely does not look like it.
As well. That's going to drop him down when he at his pit stop.
Yep, he'll go to the back of that whole train as we're still looking from Keys back. It's right the whole way through to Ison, still within that AMG in the at P15. All of those cars, that is just one giant snake.
Yeah, Rochford just picking up a position there on Bushel after he ran wide as we came to that camera view. So he puts himself now up into the top 10. So Rochford moving along nicely. A bit different conditions to what you experienced in the split loop race here, Mia, with these conditions. A lot quicker pace in the previous race, but these guys are doing a tremendous job out in these tricky conditions at the moment.
Yeah, most of these races have included a lot of gambling on the conditions, so probably this is, you know, probably the race of the season for AP Reed, just because of the amount of what do I do? Do I do this? Do I do that? Just the amount of guesswork you've got to put into both of these races. And this second race, we can see that, you know, the guesswork is going to come awry if you did the same thing in race 1.
Let's have a look at this though. This is a pretty intense racing as we got them all around the circuit here. They're making new lines as they go.
Now it's the AMG's turn to drag race down the...
That's Bryson, and he's getting all the puddles there going over the white line, so he won't get his speed advantage, but they're all...
Chalmers is boxed in here.
They're all behind. This is going to be chaos here into scenes we go.
No.
No, they get through it somehow. No one's sitting around yet. They've all sorted themselves out at least. So.
But look at Thistleweight just behind here, guys, in 16th.
Yeah.
He's already done his mandatory stop. Now, he's caught up to this big train. So, as we've been saying, they're slowing each other down as they're getting caught behind. I think we could probably say, well, Keys isn't even there now. I think Keys is actually pit stop.
Was that Bushel around? I think it was. Yep, Bushel did get turned. Was it himself or someone else? So that's the question.
I think you'd almost have to put the money on the table with that many cars in that short amount of space. It'd have to be a little bit of a little touch and run there. I reckon Thistleweight, when he went in, he's well and truly gone to put wets on. Hey, he is just punching through these guys.
Yeah, he came in right after once the safety car was released, and he's actually leapfrogged Corey as well. So Sweet down in 18th position. So yeah, I think you're right there, Brad. So that looks a bit messy.
Yep. That will be a penalty for Ison, but yeah, so Bushel broke very early there for that corner. So, and
yeah,
well, look at the forecast. We've got rain in approximately 10 minutes, and then dry for the next 30. So it depends on when that dry condition comes in. If it will come in the next 20 or 10 minutes straight after the rain. So.
The question is, will it rain though? You did say earlier that it was looking like it was going to be really bad conditions. We had 2 slots of rain and increasing rain, but that's all obviously disappeared now as the slots have moved around. So the first part of the rain hasn't come yet. So, but we have got some wipers on in Chalmers' car, but that could be just of the road spray. But Pete still moving his way through if he can. He's just trying to get this move on Rochford. Lost out last lap as he got really wide, but so did Rochford here. So look at Chalmers down the inside here at turn 6. And a nice run for him. Should be able to square this one off and keep Rochford behind him now.
Now, interesting tidbit for those at home who are watching. Thistleweight is the leading car who have taken their stops at the moment because Sweet has dropped back. So I wonder if Thistlethwaite's early stop has actually helped him with track position here, because he's got what is basically a 6 or 7 second gap to Sweet, whose provisionally would be P2. Probably P3 or P4 after the stops. And Kai Rudin as well, he's, what is he, 5th from the stoppers. So a couple of front runners here a little bit further back than where they really should be.
Yeah, but you're right. I think they're exactly what you were saying. I think Cam obviously pitting as soon as that safety car came in. Obviously had that clear track for, you know, a good 10-15 minutes. So, you know, that's probably why you're seeing him so far up as well. So,
Oh, Shady's gone around. He stopped
oh
out of
no,
the long hair. He has two. He's spun. I just
He's
caught the
going
yellow
so
dot
well.
there. So he's being passed for position. I think no, he hasn't. He's so far ahead of Keys that he's going to keep P2.
That's incredible that you can do
track
that.
has just gone to greasy too. Sorry to cut you off there, Brad, but I
No,
just noticed it just went to greasy from being damp.
Yeah. I know, as Mia was saying though, it's only at 21 degrees, both track and ambient air temperature. Compared to
killing
that
it.
first race, it was a lot warmer than this. So you can
Yeah.
definitely see that there is a dry line starting to show.
Oh, and there's the
I
rain.
reckon, I was going to say, I reckon
Yep.
I saw a couple of drops of rain on the screen just there. And here
Yeah,
it
it's
comes,
coming
wipers
down.
are on.
Yeah,
And
it's definitely
just,
come over the circuit now, hasn't it?
yep, back to
Not
damp.
looking good. Yeah, that was very quick. That change of the track condition.
A couple of the
Hey.
guys that were on the slicks were cheering for a second, and then, oh, no, he's all on his own. Just,
And there's Shady. So he's probably went a bit too deep, and then tried to, or probably went a bit too shallow. Or, yeah, I say a bit too deep, and got the second hit of the brakes, and the rear sort of lost grip. And then the moment it got on the paint, it just went around. And we see a lot of people here taking stops. So this could be either, I think a few of these people in here have got wets on, so they're probably taking their mandatory stop. Actually, no, a lot of them are actually taking tyres here. They've been in their box for a bit, so they're going to wets. So these are all of our dry runners finally
Yeah.
realising that the dry tyres will not work.
yep.
That's right. And when we were having a look as they're coming into the pit lane, into their boxes as well, you saw a lot of battle scars there on the front of these cars as well. They've really been in the walls here for race 2.
Yep, so that will now put Thistlethwaite, I'm going to say, this provisional P3. Because Keys has got a 10-second penalty. Shady's very far back, so I'm going to say Thistlethwaite will be at least third after the stops. Maybe second if Shady's spins cost him a lot of time, but no one's going to be seeing this race.
There of Bartlett.
Yeah, well, I think
Yeah,
Bartlett
did
is
that
on
easy.
the rise, so he could be struggling really hard here with the conditions.
Yeah. You could see how easy Thistlethwaite got around him there. You can definitely tell you don't get that good a run, I don't think. Well,
I think a lot of these split red guys will be trying to phone up Mia to be their pit engineers, race engineers, I think, because I think Mia picked it early on at the start of this race when they were on the grid that the wet tyres would be the tyre for this race. And it's definitely came to fruition here. All the wet runners are really reveling now.
Well, I just see that as we're looking at this battle here, basically the last of the runners. Real has got a DT, I'm going to say like a track limit DT, so
Yep.
it's gone a bit. He was having a great race there, and then a couple little mistakes has cost him.
Yeah, it's a shame.
And speaking of I'm surprised he has not got a DT yet. That's probably the 4th time we've seen him go wide. But
Are they a little bit lenient in the wet conditions at all, or are they still pretty strict in the game with the
usually they're stricter.
track cuts?
They're not
Okay.
lenient, they're stricter. So, but if you want a story of tough races, let me see here, JP is about to pass Jensen here for P15. Luke Johnson has had 2 penalties put on him. He's had a dangerous driving penalty and an unsafe rejoin penalty. So I think he's not having a great race so far today.
I tell you what, Jensen will be loving this at the moment. He's holding up JP, who's this is all for a fair fight for position. I think it is 14th, and
I think he's just got the inside on him there.
yeah, he has. But going to say, obviously JP second in the championship, so that was a little bit of a moment for Jensen to just to enjoy as a amateur driver out there,
Mm.
mixing it with the big boys.
Staying still with the fastest lap there too. He's reveling in these wet conditions.
Yeah, they've probably been from earlier on. I don't think anyone would trouble him for that time, so he's done it really easy out there at the front. But it'll be interesting to see what happens here once they do their stop.
Well, Sweet's on dry, so he is doing well for someone who's on the least optimal side. There's someone around here at the second last corner. But he's, yeah, very bold strategy call, I'd say, to go on the dries here. You know, I could see why you would go the dries, but, you know, still very tough call for anyone to make.
You
in
also
this
see
race.
how gingerly the parking came into the pit lane there. It's just like ice, so you know, maybe one of the runners that maybe were on slicks as well, taking it very easy coming into pit lane.
And this
We're
here is
looking
a
at
battle
keys.
for P17. I'm going to say it's probably a battle for somewhere in the top 10 provisionally, if I've got my maths right, but I could be wrong. So these two have had penalties applied to, and they've both served them at the stop. So probably not how they want their penalties to be served, but that's the way the game does it.
So they're saying that Chris has in the Nissan has some dry tyres. I'm not too sure.
No, I think they were asking if they had dry tyres. They don't. So I don't think they started the dries, or they were always on the wet since the start of the race. So there now, this is going to be interesting because
It's getting wet.
to a battle here for P7 between Sweet and Jusman. So this is dry tyres versus wet. And you're about to see why the wet tyres were the best thing for this race, because the amount of grip that Jusman would have over Sweet here is, and you see, looks around the outside, he's going to get the move here done into the last quarter, puts the car onto the apex, gets the drive out, and then that's why the wet tyre was the tyre of choice, just because of that.
Yep.
Definitely, and he sort of can pick whatever line he wants, can't he, at the moment? But look at Sweet's coming back at him.
Actually,
but, yeah.
Shady's got a DT, sorry, I've just realised Shady's got a DT.
Oh,
That would be
no.
spectacular, misses. Just missed between into the barrier.
Big accident for Corey.
Oh, no.
So
He-
they were
Jusman-
fighting
Just been moved
for
over.
position there into turn one. And Corey couldn't go anywhere, but geez, that was, I would hate to be on that end of there. That was a big shunt for Corey.
That was ridiculous. That you, unless there was a puddle there that moved him over, there was no need to move over that aggressively, and that's put Sweet out of this race. So Jusman will have a massive penalty for that, because that was ridiculous. As I see, 555 has stopped on the back
here we go.
straight.
Yeah, moving on that braking area. It's,
That's ridiculous. That's not called for.
yeah, it's not as well, but one of those things as well that maybe, you know, if you know, Corey was also on the slicks at that time, we think had been passed for position. Maybe, you know, I know he's there to race, but maybe put himself there in a risky position as well. But as we know, he shouldn't be moving in the braking area. So
I did see the 555 car of JP was stopped on track. He's gone back to pits and left the service, so he's had something go on there. I hope it's
a good night.
I hope it's not hardware related, but it doesn't matter because this will be his drop round. So no, he already had one for missing Kyle Army, so
Yeah,
he's
it
going
was,
to drop down the order of the championship. But you see here, Bandit. Here we go.
You can hardly see it.
Oh!
Oh no! Oh,
Oh my god!
he was.
And he's
so-
on the he nearly went the wrong way down the back straight too.
He
Where
did
does he
well
go
to
from
miss
here?
all the
I'd be-
barriers.
I'd be actually lost. I
How
don't
did
know
he
where
miss
you
the
are.
barriers?
Oh, wow.
He did not hit a single barrier. Not a single barrier was hit in that. And, oh.
Wow.
I'll tell you what, there's a stunt team waiting for a call out there. And that's where he ended up.
You know, I feel bad for Peach, but quite honestly, well, that was not Peach, that was John. So the wrong, the wrong one. But still, I feel bad for him. But it was probably the wrong thing. You know, there was a split second moment. He could have probably broken a bit earlier, just because that was an AM driver in front of him. But you know,
This
you
rain's getting
learn.
heavier, guys, I think.
Yeah.
You learn from those moments, and I think this track
Whoa.
has got more. Kai Rudin gets loose off that puddle.
Yeah, it did look like it was getting to the heavy rain within this next 10 minutes. If it hasn't hit already.
A red flag situation, but I know that they don't do it in this game. But geez, it'd be tough out there in these conditions.
Oh,
Well,
and
track's
it's only
not
going to get
moving
worse.
around.
Track is not classed as flooded. So usually flooded track is from around about 60 to 70% wetness. So this track is not really in the red flag state yet. So, but it's still very, very wet out there.
Yep. And 10 minutes to come. It's only going to get wetter.
It must be so hard to know as well, with all the glistening coming off all the road surface here and offline. As you know, it's such a sparse sort of circuit. But these onboard shots just show you how much difficulty that they are navigating around this circuit.
Yeah, John in chat just saying that he was jump scared by the Bentley. So, yep, it's very wet out there. And now we've got Ison's got a DT. I am going to say that could be for an incident. No, it's for track limits. So he's gotten a track limit DT. His day is not going great. And Samuel still has to serve his DT. So he's going to drop out of that, probably top 10 very easily.
Now, we haven't had anything come through race control for anything of that restart of Sang as well. We weren't too sure about, you know, his weaving and braking and maybe a little bit slow. And maybe the stewards have let that one through. We're not too sure, but I don't know if it's a post-race penalty normally or if it's actually steward live on the actual race.
I would say it's probably going to be a verbal warning to him because, yeah, that was a bit, you know, going a bit slower. Like it's, you know, that's okay, but doing the weaving, I'd say that's a bit, you know, this is not F1. We're an actual racing series. We take things a bit more seriously than what F1 does. So there's no point weaving at a restart of a race like that. But we're having a look here. This is a Satria on for P9 with the Spandex car, and I think the Murky is going to get the straight line speed drag race 1 into scenes. He draws side by side with him. He's going to get the nose out. He's going to be at least cleared by, not by the braking zone, but into the braking zone, and he's cleared himself there. So there we go. Satria to P8, sorry, not P9, it'll be P8. I would say provisionally P7, maybe P6 if he's lucky. After Samuel served his drive-through and pit stop, and Vinny and Bartlett's pit stops have been served as well.
Yes, only that those four, I believe, are yet to stop, and we're getting close now with nearly 7 minutes remaining. We did see in Split Blue some of the guys pitting as late as only 2 minutes remaining of the race, and getting out wide just in front here of Carl.
One of the AM drivers still doing very well to be in at the moment, close to the top of the 10, not quite just outside the top 10 mark there. Oh, there's a nice little squirmy move there from Johnson as he's getting the power down as well. But yeah, both Jensen and Herbert doing really well considering the weather and the conditions that that the race has put on today. It's wow, they're doing great.
This race has become. Oh, actually, sorry, Shady spun around.
So that's another spin for Shady. That's been a couple we've seen now. So I don't know why, because he shouldn't be pushing too hard because he had that second position. He wasn't really had any pace to try and catch Sang. He just had to really just get through the race to hold on to this second position. But yeah, things aren't good for him at the moment.
I wouldn't say that was pushing. It was more. There's a massive puddle there, goes across the track, and just as you sort of start turning in for that kink to the back straight. So he was probably a bit too aggressive over it and lost the car. But now we can see there, Bendick has got a drive
There we
through.
go. I think
So
this might be a replay.
say off the puddle. Yep, puddle loses the rear and around it goes. Does he get the wall?
Oh,
No.
well done.
That's going to make for a very slow trip up that back straight, starting from the standstill as well.
Now, Vinny is in the pits here, so at the moment, yeah. So Thistlethwaite's going to get P2 here. He will. He's going to finish P2 because Vinny is stopping now. Shady's still got to do his stop, and Jusman's now got a DT. So he's going to have a massive gap to the car behind him.
Oh, that Bentley just went super wide as well, Jensen.
Yep, we've got
Jensen.
Shady in the pit, so he's serving his stop now after that. Bit of a scare. So, yeah, it's become a race of survival at the moment because there have been a lot of spins, a lot of DTs. And I think the one who's surviving the most out there is Sang, but he's just got pure pace behind him, and everyone else behind him is faulted in some way, shape or form. So
Well, I think we've got to make sure that, you know, Cam Thistlethwaite, he's done nothing wrong at all. He's actually, you know, had a very, very good race out there, as we've already discussed, pitting early. And just ran his own race and found himself there in second position now. And as we say, might be able to hold on to this as Shady Samuel trying to hold off. I think it is it? I thought it was Lucas Keys.
The Lexus?
it is too, and this is for the last spot in the top 10 as well. So Shady will barely keep a top 10 place now.
I'd hate to be out there. Those conditions just look
Oh,
like
look
they're
at
getting
Keys.
worse.
He's about to get this overtake done here, because that Lexus is going to produce the afterburners and put them on as they both nearly lose it onto the back straight. Whereas Keys, I don't think. Oh, there it is. There's the afterburners.
Yep.
They're now on, and he can say goodbye to Mr. Shady Samuel, and Shady can say goodbye to his top 10, unless he gets really good scenes here. But I doubt that.
You can't see a thing.
He's already pulled 5 car lengths on Shady here, and he's going to go wide, very wide. Got to make sure he didn't get a D. He's not going to get a track cut for that one either. So.
Yeah, he's sort of dropped the ball a little bit, unfortunately, Shady. He was going so well as his JP, as we thought that he might have been the one that had some hardware, but it was his brother, I believe. So up in 8th position, chasing down. Obviously,
Oh, look at those
can't
conditions.
see anything, can you?
This looks like iRacing type of spray. You know, just turn it up a bit too much, but you can see there. I believe that was that's Vinny. He's had an issue somewhere because he's got his bonnet's up, so he's probably hit the wall somewhere.
Must have.
He must have done it the last lap because he's 2 minutes 36 laps. He probably lost it somewhere and had a massive bang with the wall. So
A couple of drive-throughs, so a couple of penalties out there on the Christmas street on your left. So as we've been saying, though, so it's interesting that here's Karudin actually in the 4th position. That's a great result.
Well, that will be a podium after Drisman's DT's been served. And speaking of, we'll have Seng coming into the pits right now, and he'll also start the last lap. There he is. This man, after the what happened in the first race, I think has got the luck of the draw again with the strategy, and he'll come in, take the 1 litre fuel, get out there in the lead, and call it a day.
Yeah, it's been another good drive for Sang. Learn his lessons, I guess, as you were saying, from the first race. takes away the fastest lap of this race as well. He did that earlier when the conditions were a little bit better. They weren't great, but you know, you'd have to say they're better than what they're out seeing right now.
You know, I'll say this right now. This is why it's going to be about a few seconds behind Seng. So he's done an amazing race to be this close to Seng after everyone else has faltered in trying to catch Seng. That's about, yeah, probably about 2, 3, maybe 4 seconds to Seng. A great performance has been from Thistlethwaite in this race.
Yep.
We've got a DQ.
Hey?
28 has had a DQ, so Drisman's had a DQ. He didn't serve his penalty in time, and he's been disqualified. So
yep.
now we've got Bendich is now in the pits for his serving of drive-through.
I wonder if he wasn't getting that up on his display or something, but you'd sort of say that's a little bit of a rookie error there.
Yeah,
that you're not used to sort of seeing here for the Sprint Series.
He probably was hoping that he'd be able to go to the end of the race and get a time penalty, but there's no point trying to hope for a time penalty. But you know, as you can see, why you go an extra lap, the game won't like it and it'll DQ you straight away. So, but at the moment, you're actually Thistlethwaite's under a second to Seng. You know, big mistake here from Seng will give Thistlethwaite the win.
Geez, we could have had one more lap here.
Actually, he's gaining a tiny bit here on Seng, as he just cuts the track there.
That and Sang might be going a little bit gentle too, knowing that it's the last lap and he's got a little bit of time up his sleeve.
Yeah, but you can see these two have cleared P3 by over 20 seconds. So
20 seconds.
That's
great run.
A big margin, but we can see here now, coming around the last corner, last lap, about to finish this race. Mr. Sang, the 423 car championship leader, will finish it off with another win. And Mr. Thistlethwaite will have probably the best race he's had so far. P2 in the wet in the Godzilla. Absolutely amazing performance by him. And now we'll see Kai Ruden come around to finish P3 in the Lightning McQueen Audi. Everyone else in front of these three were faulted. They had issues, whatever, but these three have had the best race and will come home. And Sachi will come home 4th. JP will come home P5. He probably won't be happy with what happened, but he at least survived to the end. Bartlett will be P6. Or maybe he might be P7, but he's got Vinny behind him. No, he'll finish P6. Vinny 7th. Lucas Keys will finish 8th in that McLaren. Oh, sorry, not McLaren, Lexus. And P9 will be Shady Samuel. Actually, no, might not be. Wait, it will be Carl. Carl will finish 9th. He got past Shady in the last sector. So Shady will finish on the podium. And Bendick will finish 11th. Walsh 12th. Jensen, I would say, will finish 13th. Yes. Buskovitz will finish 14th, but he'll have a 5-second penalty to his name, so he's going to drop a bit. Herbert 15th. And the rest there will come home in order. But, wow, what a survival of the fittest. Here's a replay here of, looks like Johnson and Shady got a bit of contact. He over-revved the engine there, Shady, to try and stop the car, and Carl got it back. And these two battled really hard here for the last sector, it looks like. Yeah, Shady went a bit wide, and that was probably it. But what a race to finish off tonight. It was what became a strategy of what tide he picked, then became a survival of the fittest. And oh, Palmer's not having a great race. He's got a DT and he's nearly spun it. But 28 starters we had for this race and 24 will finish. So nearly felt he's probably just doing this for fun at the moment. Palmer's he's just had enough for tonight. Probably wants to put the car in the wall at this point. He's probably feeling what I felt after split blue early tonight. He'll finally come across the line with a DT. But it won't matter because he'll still finish 22nd. And that will be it.
Well, what a race, guys. Yeah, wet weather definitely brought it in as we go on now through for the results. And in the race, obviously in the race 1, we did have Corey take out that victory over Lucas and Karudin in race 1. And then in race 2, Sang and Thistleweight in that Nissan rod, a good run for him, and Karudin, obviously a great round for him as well for the overall. So we'll go through maybe the pro drivers. We've got the pro in Rochford, Boscovitz, Parkin, Real, Chalmers, Small, Vinny and Kong. And in the silver, Lucas Keys takes that out over Thistleweight, Bushel, Palmer, Jusman, Walsh, Bendick, Satria, Johnson and Ison. And in the end, the big Bentley of Jensen in race 1 over Herbert in the McLaren. And then there's this race 2 for the silver. We had obviously Cameron Thistleweight coming home in first position over Satria. Lucas Keys comes home on the podium in third position with Johnson, Bendich, Walsh, Bushel, Ison, Palmer, and unfortunately Jusman finishing in 10th there in the Pro-Am. We had Vinny, well done to him with Buskovitz, Small, Chalmers, Mike in 5th position, Parkin in 6th, Rochford, and then Kong down there in 8th position, and Jensen makes it 2 from 2 over Herbert in the AMs. Driver of the day for you guys.
Oh, it would. If we're taking over both races, I would not have a clue, but I'd say from that second race, Thistleweight put in an amazing performance over. What was it? It was a survivor race, but out of the race, he finished within the second of Sang. So that's what you can do with a race like that.
Yep,
Yeah,
I'd definitely agree with you there, Mia. I reckon definitely that race 2 was by far race of the day was Thistleweight there in the silver as well. Not only did he come in P2 overall, but a second behind Sang in for the overalls after such a race with all those conditions, to be able to hold it and then also to be able to keep everything clean. You know, there was a lot of guys, it was the same conditions for everyone, and you know, he did a great job. Great job.
I think it's set up with that alternate strategy that he had. But there's the results there, guys. You can see that championship, and it's not much change in there, but obviously a lot to go forward for next week as well. So make sure you join us, and thanks for tuning in for Split Blue and Split Red.